Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 61 of Summon Sign Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth game discussion podcast. I am your host, as always, Brad Ellison. Joining me, I have two lovely lads, gentlemen. I don't know, lads is too British.
I mean,
we don't really say
no
that
problem
here.
here with that, right?
No,
Colin
I
has
mean,
no issues with that.
Yeah, I guess so.
I have searing amounts of issues with the British, in fact.
First of all, we got Mr. Matty Plays.
Hello.
Matty, how are you, dude?
Good. I'm doing good, Brad. Good to see you again. We just did Duke together, so it's good to be here to just talk games for a couple of hours. Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, how's the review season going?
Good. I mean, for me, I had a feeling it would dramatically slow down after Avowed because I can never crack the Sega or Capcom code for whatever fucking reason. So, like, I just knew there was no way I was going to get Monster Hunter or like Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. So I was just like, yeah, things are going to slow down. So as we'll get into this episode, I've just been playing a lot of older stuff. I have a whole backlog stacked next to me that I'll get into. But yeah, it's been good, right? Like we hit that full speed ahead, hit a bunch of games, and now settling down until maybe Assassin's Creed Shadows. I don't know if I'll be reviewing that or not.
Okay.
But, overall good. Thank you for asking.
Yes. And of course, joining us also Chris with a nice Xbox Live shirt. Very nostalgic. I like it.
Yeah.
Chris, how are you, dude?
I'm doing okay. I had an early start this morning. Just kind of woke. It's one of those weird. I rarely get this anymore. I remember I used to get it a lot when I was a kid, but I just woke up 6 a.m. flat, completely energized and ready. And I was like, "What the hell is this?"
What time did you go to bed?
Like midnight.
Oh wow.
Which is like
sometimes it just happens.
Yeah, I don't know, but I was just like, "Oh man, I'm taking advantage of this." I went for a run really early.
Nice.
Although I will say, it's getting to that point here in LA where it's like it's been relatively cool for a while now, and the last like day and a half, it's just like now, it's 80.
I wish. I wish.
Yeah. I mean,
I want some heat over here. We had just ice. I think I was talking to Brad about it. We had just like straight up fucking ice, and I just want it to melt and go away. And I want like good spring weather. That's what I'm itching for right now. I've been waking up thinking about spring every day. We're still a couple months shy of that, but if you wouldn't mind sharing some sunshine over here, that'd be wonderful.
I would donate if I could, dude. I know well enough. Look, I've lived in places where it's brutal. It's a blessing, but it was also, it's such a jarring, like I walked down like, okay, I know what to wear because I've been acclimated to this. And then I immediately, like halfway through the walk, I was like, oh, it's a different situation now. But yeah, there's no spring though here really. Like that's kind of the thing.
It's just hot or roaring hot.
It's like a kind of like a half committed winter. Where it's like it's not going to snow, but it's going to be a little cold, and then it's blistering heat. So it's like you don't get the fall, you don't get the spring, which I do miss. But grateful that I don't have to suffer through the cold for too long, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Because you're more inland, I think, than I am. So
yeah, I'm in the valley. I'm in the valley, so like it gets blistering. I was in that area where during the wildfires, it was like in the center of all of them. And they were just surrounded. It was like looking at like a real-time strategy map, and you're like, I need to restart.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome that your house didn't burn down. That's good shit.
Yeah, that's sick, dude.
That's really funny.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was low-key kind of, I remember when that was going on. I think I've talked about it before, but like when it was going on, I was like, oh, I guess everything's going to go. I guess I'm going to lose everything. All right. I was like weirdly like, I don't know.
Accepting,
I think in the face of like magnificent degrees of tragedy, I think I'm okay. Because like I'm normally a very anxious person anyway. So in that situation, it's like, oh, at least my anxiety matches the severity of what's happening. Yeah. As opposed to like, oh my God, I have a wedding tomorrow and I feel like I'm going to die. And then I feel like an idiot because like, why would I feel this stress over something so mundane and stupid? So, but
Chris, tell the audience about your cutting out sugar.
Oh, dude. I'm trying right now to cut sugar out of my diet because I realize, like, dude, I've been so irresponsible with just the amount of sugar that I've eaten over my life for sure, but like definitely like into my late 20s. And just like now I'm 31 and it's not even like I'm feeling the effects of it. I'm not like, it's not like I had like a major health scare. I'm just kind of like at that point where I'm like, I probably should pay attention to this. Like, logically and from an intellectual standpoint. So I'm like, I'm trying to cut sugar out and it's so much harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because it's just in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's in so much shit. It's in bread. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's in my bread. So that's been kind of brutal. I've been kind of leaning on another vice of mine, which is coffee, which I'm not typically like a coffee guy, but it's helping kind of
replace
the scales.
Yeah. Replace it for a little bit and then I'll cut down on caffeine and then maybe I'll die.
Yeah. Just a little bit later this time. That's all.
Yeah.
Hey everybody,
Brad, I gotta ask you about your shirt real quick. I see the Blastoise cannons. Is this one of those shirts that's got like it's not. I thought it was one of those shirts that I have a collection of shirts that are like Pokemon branded, but they mix with real world brands too. Like I have a Gangarade one. I have Pika Hut. I thought that's what you were wearing because I knew they had a Blastoise one. I forgot what it was called. I think it was something to do with Baja Blast. But I thought that's what you were sporting there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's a good shirt. The Baja Blastoise to be an awesome shirt.
Dude,
I didn't even know.
They always have a stand. I always forget the brand name, but they always have a stand at PAX East, and I always buy something from them every year because they always have like new crossovers. Like they'll have like Charmander and Starbucks and stuff, and it's I don't know. Like it gets me giddy every time.
Yeah,
so,
that's good stuff.
Always add it to my collection. Anyway, sorry, did not mean to interrupt you.
No, that just reminded me. Chris, what's your favorite Pokemon?
Oh, dude, I the last Pokemon I played was Silver and Gold. You know, the original.
Yeah,
and I gotta say, I have a fondness for Lugia for some reason. I don't remember much about it, but I just remember thinking that design was really cool. And like,
Lugia's cool. I
was fixated on that box, but it's my history. I barely remember being into Pokemon at this point, which is sad because I remember the happiness associated with it, but like I know jack shit about Pokemon now.
Oh yeah, I mean I didn't know most shit either. I'm going through them right now and I'm just learning all these Pokemon and forgetting them immediately because there's too many of them. But yeah,
oh my god,
wow. There's some really dumb ones. Whoa, oh my god, is that a Scyther?
That's a Scyther blanket.
Yeah. Holy moly,
that is nuts.
That's who my favorite is.
Scyther, that's a cool one. Wow.
I remember Scyther being specifically awesome. Like he was that is exactly like what a young boy would think is absolutely fucking sick. He's got
he's got blades.
Yeah, just guys being dudes in Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. It was like he's got blades for hands. He's like that Digimon with like the hot rod fire on his. I can't remember what the hell his name is. Like that was another one where I was just like I had that action figure. Knew very little about Digimon, but I just thought that design was so sick.
I only know Agumon. That's it. That's the only Digimon I
think
know.
his name was literally Flame Dramon, I think.
Flame Dramon?
I think so. If that's not it, it's damn close.
That sounds like... No, that's right.
Is it real?
Yeah.
Okay, I did remember. All right, so my memory isn't completely gone.
This guy looks so dumb, dude. What the fuck?
I know. Dude, but as like a fucking... When I was like 8 or 9, this was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
this was like
what?
Oh my god, what the hell?
This might as well have been my Jesus at that time. You know, it's just like it was so like this is world changing. And looking back, it's just fire and red and knives. It's like, what if we made it what if it was the pointiest thing possible?
Yeah.
He's got sharpness on like everything. His kneecaps sharp.
It's literally the definition of edgy.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. All right. Pokemon, there's a lot of dumbass Pokemon. Not going to even defend them. There's a lot of shitty ones. Digimon, something is off about all these Digimon. I don't know what it is. All their designs. Something weirds me out. Like, this guy, like, this is just like a Japanese robot. Like, I don't understand what this is.
Oh, yeah. Some of the, I don't know.
Holy shit, that link's long.
That is a long link.
Holy shit. What is this guy?
Imperial Dramon. I kind of like that one. I'm not going to lie.
That guy looks like a cut Mega Man X boss or something.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
That's probably why I like it. Oh, this is a cool one. Wormon. And it's literally a worm.
Cool.
Armadillomon. Can you guess what that is?
Yeah.
That's actually
It's
cute as
like-
hell. It's like their version of Sandshrew.
Yeah, but he just like looks worse. I don't know. It's got a different flair, which I appreciate. Just Digimon
Yeah.
though. I don't know. I remember
Chibomon
watching-
is a literal slime from Dragon Quest.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Digimon's kind of like weirdly still huge.
It's still
Like,
popular. Yeah.
I remember being completely blindsided by that because a friend of mine plays the card game, and I was like, "There's a fucking
Oh yeah.
card game." I guess that shouldn't be
When it
surprising.
launched, I think it launched during COVID because I was looking into it because I love playing card games and that shit was really expensive to get into. Like the first set is because it was like short printed. I don't think Bandai knew if it'd be good or not, or if people would like play it or not. But yeah, that was an expensive one to get into.
Yeah.
Card games. Matt, did you buy the Final Fantasy cards? I forgot if we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I buckled over the weekend. Yeah,
Okay.
Because I kept going back to them, and once I went back like a third time, I was looking at like the Lightning full art. I was like, all right, like I got to just.
Mhm.
I
What'd
just
you
gotta
buy?
do this. I bought a booster. I bought one of those starter bundles and the starter pack.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't have any of the commander stuff ready to go. It all got ordered up, which is fine. I get it. I feel like you can get that, like Fallout did that. Like you can get the Fallout commander decks for like all of them combined for like 200. So, it's funny. Like you think I buckle on the Fallout one, but there was something about the art on the Final Fantasy cards that just looked so right. I was like, I love the grade cards. So I was like, I want to get a booster box and just see if I get anything worth grading. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, I buckled. It's funny. I had a doctor's bill to pay and I had an accountant bill to pay, and I bought my fucking Final Fantasy Magic cards first.
Oh yes.
Like I was like procrastinating on those bills, and then like that came, and I like thought about it, considered it, weighed it heavily, made the purchase. I was like, okay, I got to go pay these bills now. Like this is fucking ridiculous. Like
That's awesome. Chris, do you play card games at all?
No, I never really got into. I never got into them. I collected Pokemon cards, and I'm so frustrated because I have like the original like 150 like in a binder, and I never played with them, so they're not worn or anything. No fucking clue where that binder is.
Oh.
I have no idea, but I know I have it. It's probably like in my attic somewhere, but it's probably so deep in there that I'm scared to go into my attic, guys.
Sure.
Like there's nails. Sure? There's nails coming out of the ceiling.
I just hate the pink fuzzy stuff that like if you touch it's like itchy. Yeah.
Insulation.
Yeah. I'll die of insulation poisoning before I get anywhere close to those Pokemon cards. So it's I don't know.
I would go for it personally. You can retire. You just pull Charizard out of there. You're good, bro.
Yeah.
What more do you need to do?
I have it, but I think I'm also terrified of just going through it and then going through my entire attic and it's just not there. So like I kind of like it's kind of like a Schrodinger's cat situation where it's like I both do and do not have an entire collection of original Pokemon cards, and I kind of like that possibility. I don't want to learn that I don't have it because then it's just I've been stressing myself out for years over nothing.
Dude, I've been getting sent Pokemon cards from viewers. Like, here's just some box I have that I haven't opened yet.
Oh yeah,
Chris, you might like this one.
Oh, I see you got the balls back there.
Yeah, they sent me that too. This one has Lugia, all the gold and silver and crystal.
Oh, sick!
Nice.
But dude, I love his design, man.
Yeah, he's a cool little like bird thing. I don't know what the hell he is. Dragon bird thing.
The Pokemon market's crazy though. I have a friend who's like really big into it. Like I got back into collecting and grading, but it's expensive, and I ended up putting that money toward the game development stuff instead. But when I dropped out of it, like the market was kind of tapering off a little bit, and now it's like back up, and there's stuff that like we graded that was like worth nothing that's worth a lot now. Like I don't know what really dictates it. Right now it seems like there was a set that came out that like reprinted the original 151. That was like a big deal, and then there was a prismatic set of some kind that just sold out instantly, and it's like retailers are starting to like not allow like pre-orders or anything or something like that. It's just like it's getting to that point, like that. Remember that COVID era Pokemon like resurgence that we saw where like I think Logan Paul was unboxing shit, and so like everyone was getting into it. It's like doing that again, where it's just like completely booming. It's insane. Like I was watching a video. This guy literally built like a multi-million-dollar business off of just Pokemon cards. I'm like, can you imagine? Like that's just
insane.
Yeah, like obviously, like there's not everyone's gonna do that, but like he built like a grading business. He built his own like shop out of his apartment, and then they have a warehouse. Like it's crazy, bro. Like
damn,
yeah,
it's
to
amazing.
be able to like make your own business out of someone else's business is insane, right? Like that's just how big Pokemon is.
Damn, yeah, I know. It's crazy. Pokemon is insane. Biggest IP on the planet, I guess, though.
100%.
But it never dies. The popularity, surprisingly, because some of the games are dog shit. But Pokemon,
Did you see the sales for Scarlet and Violet? Despite like the very,
I remember seeing it and just being upset, but also not surprised.
Yeah, like it's pushing 30 million. I'm like, wow, like that type of launch with, I think it had a lot of great ideas, to be fair, but like,
yes.
It wasn't technically sound. Like I dropped it and I was like, when the Switch 2 comes around, I'll try it again. And to see it sold like almost 30 million copies, I'm like, dude, Nintendo will never, and Pokemon Company will never change how they fund these games or anything. They put so little into them and get so much out.
Yeah,
like it's incredible.
Yeah. I wonder what the budget is to make these games. It's like, I don't know how many millions, but they make a huge profit.
They're made on Fiverr, I'm pretty sure.
Just all contract labor.
Yeah, just like build a Pokemon. No,
But yeah, Pokemon, I could never hang with the true fans. I'm not fighting people for cards in Costco. I'm not buying the cards. Can't handle that. I'm not doing that shit. It's too much, man. Too much,
man. Yeah,
I feel you.
All right. Let's see. Before we get into the rest of the show, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia if you'd like to support us. Leave us a rating on your podcast service of choice. We greatly appreciate that. Also, all the shows now have individual RSS feeds. So make sure to do that manually if you want to put this show on there. It's not going to be a list of everything. You got to add it manually. Or, yes, because it'll be separate from now on. That's for every show, by the way. So for Duke, all that stuff, punching up, keep an eye out. Be vigilant on that kind of stuff. Also, merch at laststandmedia.store. If you want to get some stuff, you get some stickers, maybe a shirt. We got this smug Matty Xbox sticker.
Oh, nice.
My favorite sticker
right there. Thanks, man.
It's my favorite one.
It's a good sticker.
Yeah, so good.
I love
All
that
right,
it's like obnoxiously glossy too. Like if someone
perfect,
staples it on something, they're just gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" There's a great story behind it.
It's an incredible sticker. I love that sticker so much. All right, let's see here. This is from David Shattenborough. Good day, summoners. I have a mission for Brad. As the premier tier list compiler of LSM, would there be any interest in putting together everyone's top 25 games of all time? It would take a lot of time and effort, but it'd be great to compare and contrast the crew's picks at the end, from Locke's Eurojank CRPGs to Micah's bizarre licensed 3DS games. P.S. My wife is adamant that you are Tom DeLonge's voice double and insists that you end every episode with a "Where are you?" Thanks for all the fantastic content. Wow, I've never heard that, but I'll take it, I guess.
That's a good one.
I wish I had his money. Damn.
Is he the one that went into like alien stuff?
Yes, he's big time alien for sure. Yeah, he was camping out in the desert looking for aliens and stuff.
Sick.
That song was about the aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
are you?
Yeah. I think there's a song from them called Aliens Are Real or something like that. So yeah, he's big, unabashedly into aliens.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, good for you, Tom, I guess. Let's see. 25 top 25 games of all time. That seems like a long list. Maybe we could do top 10.
Top 10, yeah. I have a top 25, but...
Okay, you do. Okay, locked and loaded. I certainly don't. And I feel like it's going to take me a long time. I feel like it's a lot of homework for people.
It was a trend. Like there was a trend going on and everyone was like posting their lists. And I was like, oh, I love doing this sort of thing. Like I love ranking games I've played throughout my entire life. And so it's buried somewhere on Twitter over the last couple of years, but I barely post on Twitter. So I would be able to dig that up. But I can do top 10. I think would be awesome. I think a lot of people
would it be this exact same list?
My top 10, probably. Yeah.
The top 10?
Was it this thing that was going around? This like,
yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I have mine too. That's kind of crazy. I forgot
okay. Shit. Maybe 25 isn't a bad idea then. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something we can think about.
I did have to think quite a bit though. Like there was a point where I was like getting into 20s. I'm like, maybe
yeah. Once you're in the 20 to 30 range, I feel like it's just what's your mood that day, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Like,
yeah, my top 5 rarely changes, if ever. But
yeah.
top 10 even has some wiggle room.
Like, I feel like if I asked Colin to do this, it would take him 5 hours to do his 25 list.
Yeah, that's
like
why you should do top 10. Top 10 would be good. I think that's also good for the audience.
Yeah,
okay,
that's way better.
well, keep that in mind. All right, guys, talk about video games we've been playing. First of all, Avowed. Chris, you've been playing this. Maddie, you did play this.
Yeah.
No one's talked about this on this show yet, so I am curious
Really?
to hear your guys' thoughts. Yeah. Chris,
Yeah.
we'll start with you, man.
Yeah, so Avowed is interesting. I've always generally liked Obsidian's games. I've never been like a. This is gonna sound controversial. I said this on Sacred also, but like I understand this is like a crucifiable offense. Where like New Vegas is fine to me. Like I think it's the vibe really. Like I like Fallout because there's a very specific kind of aesthetic going on and a specific confluence of different things going on where it's like the 1950s retro future, those like old kind of Sinatra like coded like jingles against a very specific kind of desolated backdrop. I think New Vegas feels just like too much like a normal Western to me. And like Big Iron doesn't really stand out as like a Fallout song. Like when I hear those old music from the 50s, those songs are ruined for me in some way because I just think of Fallout immediately. Sure. Like there's no other context for them. But Big Iron is like, oh, that's like I know what that is, and it's whatever. So like Obsidian, like, and I enjoyed the Outer Worlds just fine. Like I didn't really have I know that like there's like a weird revisionist kind of thing going on with that game where like people do the game sucks. And I was like I liked it quite a bit.
I'm like still fighting that war, bro. I don't get it. I just don't.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. It's definitely one of those games where I'm like, oh man, I'm really excited for the next one of these because there's some like things that they can iron out. But like, I enjoyed the Outer Worlds quite a bit. It's no Fallout, but like that's such a different. I don't even know how you could compare them. So I started Avowed kind of with the understanding, I guess, in my mind that was like, okay, this is going to be like more Outer Worlds, not really like a Skyrim kind of thing. And I'm enjoying it well enough. I think honestly what's drawing me in most is and I didn't expect this going in was I think the combat feels really, really good. Like I think there's a weight behind everything that kind of feels like right. Like a lot of Bethesda games, specifically like Skyrim, I think of like, you know, you attack somebody with a sword and it just kind of feels like they passively, it kind of feels like they passively understand that a sword is around them. And that's like that's like the most reaction you're getting in Outer Worlds. Like they're like dragged across the screen. Their like face is like there's something satisfying about it. But at the same time, I almost feel like it's so responsive and it's so reactive and it's so impactful that it kind of undermines a lot of it. Because in the Outer Worlds, I remember specifically avoiding combat as often as possible. And because I wanted to talk my way out of everything, not necessarily because I'm that kind of player, but because I just found the combat in Outer Worlds to be kind of like just not very fun. Like I kind of wanted to avoid it as often as possible. And if I would get in some kind of scrap, I would accept it. And it wouldn't be like a miserable experience or anything, but it was far from like the reason that you were playing. But in this game, I just feel like I never want to talk my way out. I want to beat everybody up. I want to kill everybody I see because it's just satisfying. It's satisfying to do it. And there is an interesting kind of design philosophy here that I don't think I really thought about deeply until this, where I'm like, is there a danger in making your game too fun in like specific areas that kind of undermine other like I don't know. It got me thinking about that because I really don't care about what's going on in the story at all. I don't. Yeah. I'm not really paying attention to the companions. Like a little bit. Like I like Kai a bit, and I even think the healer girl that you get deeper in Giada. I like her as well. Like I think that like they're fine. I enjoy their banter and all that, but like I'm not really present in it because I'm like ready to go. I want to find the next group of people to just take down. And it's interesting. I wonder if that like kind of gets in the way of like the RPG nature of it. I wonder if there's there's an argument to be made about like, hey, we kind of maybe want to make this less awesome.
Do you think maybe
Yeah.
that's a problem of not necessarily the combat just being so good, but the other elements not living up to the combat.
I think, yeah, that's definitely part of it, I think. But like my perspective, like where I'm coming at it from, like I'm an action guy. You know, like I like RPGs just fine. Like they're definitely like some RPGs are like definitely in my top, 10 games of all time. I love Skyrim. I get the itch to play Skyrim like at least like every winter I get that itch.
Mhm.
Like no matter how, and that's another game that has like revisionist bullshit around it where it's just like, oh, man, fuck it. And then suddenly it's like compared to the Outer Worlds, it's like, look how great Skyrim is all of a sudden. I'm
It's
like,
been
brother,
so
were
odd to see
hating on it.
Bethesda on the positive end of like comparison glaze. Like I've never, like usually it's always look at this Bethesda game and then something else, and I'm like, yeah, this is every launch, but now it's like Avowed versus Oblivion. I'm like, holy fuck, what is happening?
Yeah, and I don't think it's very fair. I think they're going for very different things. And I didn't really expect Skyrim out of it, so I am enjoying it quite a bit. I'm not as let down as I think a lot of people probably would be if they were maybe anticipating like a world of like complete interactability. I do think the loot system is a little bit like, I don't know. I don't necessarily find myself wanting to go off the beaten path as often because I don't feel like there's going to be like a worthwhile thing at the end. It's usually like a chest of like upgrade materials, which is useful. And it is part of like the overall gear game, but it's not that compelling as like a player because like even compared to like Fallout 4, you'd find some like crazy weapons that I remember
Fallout
being
4
like,
made the mistake of doing that legendary weapon system. That pisses me off still to this day because it just like ruins so much of the loot grind in that game and like the legendaries that define their games. And it would lead to like, I think, ruining Starfield in a lot of ways for people because you just had like 3 unique weapons, just not great.
True, but like it's I mean compared to this, it's like like you get like there's unique weapons. I don't want to make it sound like there are no unique weapons. There are like, but they're tied to the ends of very specific quests. Like you're not really going to find them, or maybe you will. Like I don't know. Like I haven't really been out exploring to the same degree that I would in a Fallout or a Skyrim because that drive isn't necessarily there. Like the main exploration goal is just how good it feels to move around. I will say like parkouring and stuff feels really good, and like they got the movement down. It makes me kind of excited about the Outer Worlds because I feel like. Because like if this is how the Outer Worlds feels, like I'm excited for that because like that world is a little bit more interesting. I also don't know anything about Pillars of Eternity at all, and so I'm just kind of there's a lot of proper nouns going on in conversation, and I'm like the Dream Scourge, the Dream Thrall, and I'm like who do I kill?
Yeah,
who do I kill? And I think the story
by the end of the game, you might have a different feeling on that because I felt that way for like 20 hours. And by the 40th, I was like, oh, I feel like I've learned a new language. Like I get it now.
Yeah, I am grasping more and more of it for sure. And make no mistake, they want you to grasp it. Like they won't stop.
They don't.
they will not stop.
They in fact will retread old ground many times to make sure you do get it.
Yeah, it almost feels like I don't know if you've seen this that memo for Netflix where it's like they expect people to be looking at their phones all the time, so it's okay to repeat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It kind of feels like that a little bit. Like even in the same conversations, I feel like I'm retreading around. I'm like, brother, like what is occurring right now? I think the companions are kind of, particularly Marius. I think sucks. I think everybody else is fine, but like Marius is like. And I don't even know if it's necessarily the way he's written. But I don't know.
I think it's 100% the way he's written, bro. This guy's like so surface level, in my opinion. Yeah, he's like, I kept my opinion on him dialed down in my review, but I think he's like one of the worst companions I've seen in a while. Like I just on a lacking area of depth and just like his one-liner quips. I'm like, shut the fuck up, Marius. Like you are never going to be in my party, bro. Like he's too predictable in every sense. Like, what would a dwarf be like in a fantasy world? That's Marius. Like that, the first thing that comes to mind, that's Marius.
Yeah, exactly. He's like cynical, curmudgeonly. There's a rough exterior.
Yeah,
but underneath that exterior, he's got a heart of gold. And I'm like, I will never see that because I'm never picking you. It's Kai and Giada the entire time for me. And to be fair,
I also think his voice actor's not fantastic, so it
that's what I was kind of leading into, where it's just like I actually kind of feel like it's more the performance because I actually feel like because it just kind of sounds like a guy, Like, I don't know. It just sounds like I know him.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't like everybody. Like Garrus is like very distinct. Even Giada, I think, has like a lot more range in like the way that she speaks to you and the banter that she has. There's like a moment, kind of. I don't know if it's deep into the game, but there's like a narrative moment involving like the fall of a certain place, and I think she does a pretty good job, kind of differentiating that from the rest of her dialogue, where it's just like, oh, it actually sounds like something is being experienced here. And so I think they're serviceable. I don't think they're like particularly memorable, but I don't know if that's necessary. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that way
right now.
To be fair, I do want to clarify. I do generally play these games without companions. Like, I don't want another character with me because I like the lone ranger type. Like, that's kind of how I always go about it. Like, I like being, even if like in Fallout, I'll take the dog with me because the dog's not going to judge me. He's not going to be like, I didn't like what you did. Like, no, none of that shit. Except the Outer Worlds. I took companions in the Outer Worlds.
Hell yeah.
What about Valentine though from Fallout 4?
Oh, Nick.
I do like Valentine a lot, but I don't want him. I don't want him following me. They also just break my immersion sometimes because like it's like a Last of Us Ellie situation where they're like they're running in front of like groups of people, and I'm like, they clearly see whatever. It's It's just a bit of a compromise, and I don't know if AI is in that place yet or will ever be to like really make it feel truly coherent or they never do what I want them to do. And so generally I kind of avoid them. So like companions are never really like the make or break it for me for these games anyway. So like I do think they're a little bit underwhelming, but like that's not really a deal breaker for me. I'm enjoying it. I think it's like of the games that I've played, it's like, and I mean this in a complimentary way, although it's going to sound kind of derogatory. I mean this, it feels like the best 7.
So me and Matty were talking about on Duke. We're like, 7s can be fun, dude. They can be they're good games.
Dude, I love a hefty fair bit of like some of my favorite games are 7s. Like Destroy All Humans is like a solid 7. And I love that game.
Yeah.
I love that game to death.
It just does one thing really well. Yep.
Yeah. A lot of pandemic games are like that too, like Mercenaries and things like that. It's like these aren't breaking new ground. This isn't like a Last of Us. This isn't like a Halo 2 where it's like revolutionizing the way that we do things. But like not every movie needs to be Nosferatu. I'm not looking for that from everything. And I think it's serviceable. But I'm also, to the point, just giving more clarification of where I'm coming from. I'm also not that big of a fantasy guy in comparison to like, I'm more of like a sci-fi guy. It's why Fallout is my shit, dude. Like I love everything about Fallout. Yeah. And Skyrim is always like, it's one of my favorites, but like, it's definitely like lower for me. Yeah. I'm just not into, it's like, oh, there's a dragon. I'm like, all right.
So I assume you're doing like melee combat mostly right now.
Yeah, dude. I will say that, dude, the flexibility of the combat's really nice. Like, in addition to the fact that it feels just good to just beat the shit out of things, like the flexibility of it, like dual wielding wands like a freak is hilarious. But yeah, I'm going with like, I have like a great sword. I think it's called like the woodcutter or something, or like, I don't remember exactly what it is. It's something cutter, but it's like a exceptional kind of legendary, heavy great sword. And then I'm rocking that. And then the spell book with like I'm actually rocking a spell book and a gun, which is I did that for a while. Also, which is also something that I think is fairly unique. There is a cool vibe to playing like a fantasy game with a gun in it. I don't know what it is about it. It's like maybe that it's a little bit. It's like reverse Destiny, where it's like Destiny's like sci-fi fantasy, but this is like more like there's no science Fable, at all. Yeah, exactly. It actually, Fable's actually a great pull. It even kind of looks a little bit like Fable, which is interesting. But yeah, like that feeling of like magic and guns, and the old timey guns too. Like it's not like you don't got like machine guns or nothing. It's like single
it's like a
shot.
musket.
Yeah, and there's an interesting flavor here that is not common, and there is a uniqueness here just from a gameplay feel and a game experience where it's just like, yeah, I could see this scratching an itch that no one's ever scratched before, really, in this way. And I wouldn't be surprised if this makes it to like if people come out of this year being like, yeah, I really loved that, like because I don't know if I've played anything quite like it. it's strange. It's like uniquely fine. I don't know. It's such an interesting game to me.
Yeah,
and
that's what I kind of hear. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's exceptionally fine.
I've never seen a game that's just fine get discussed this much, though. I will be honest. Like,
well, it's an
broadly,
exclusive.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me. You know?
Yeah, that's true. So I'm just and to clarify, I'm like 35, 40 hours in.
Nice.
Oh wow!
I'm in I've been polishing off the side quests and doing a lot of extra stuff just because like it feels like Obsidian games are like this for me, where it's like they just feel so much more approachable than a lot of other open world games. Where like I feel
the hubs, bro. It's perfect to me. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a great identifier for them. I don't necessarily mind that it's not like this sprawling open world because there is something about it. Like I'm looking forward to Avowed because I know I can manage it. I'm looking forward to Outer Worlds 2 because I know I can manage it. Like, and I'm very much like in the category of like, I like my occasional long game. I like my occasional like Red Dead Redemption 2. But like sometimes I really want to go into something and know that I can finish it before I forget what the beginning was. And I think Obsidian fulfills that niche really, really well. And I think Avowed so far is fine. I'm on the third Shatter Scarp. I think I just got to. And so I don't know how deep into the game that is. I don't know how close I am to the film. I really have no idea.
Yeah, you're deep.
But I'm enjoying it so far. It's a fine video game.
Exceptionally fine. Yeah, I like that.
Exceptionally fine is how I would put it, actually.
Let's see here. Steven Campos wrote in, "Hello, Chris. Would you recommend Avowed to anyone who is a huge fan of Skyrim or any of the Elder Scrolls?"
I don't know. It depends. I mean, as a big fan of Skyrim, I like it, but it really depends on. It's less about what you're a fan of and more about what you're expecting going in. Like, don't expect Skyrim because it's not Skyrim really at all. I don't know. I feel like Matty's like more tailored for this question, honestly.
I don't think so. If you like Elder Scrolls, there's a particular flavor to those games, not only in the style fantasy, but I think it's just the systems within an Elder Scrolls game are really what I think make it give it life. Like I'm the same way as Chris. Like I'm not a huge fantasy guy, but I do love like seminal fantasy games like your Baldur's Gates, in my case Dragon's Dogma. I adore that because it's doing something really different, or a Skyrim, right? Like these are games that I wouldn't even call them exceptions. Like I love Dragon Age Origins, but they do things extremely well where it's almost like, oh, this is just an objectively great video game. I think when you look at Avowed, it if you're coming in as like, I'm a huge Skyrim fan or just I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan, I don't know, like I have the Elder Scrolls itch. Like I was just making a video talking about Elder Scrolls 6 and I'm like, I'm like eager to see that game. Am I like going in a little cautious after Starfield and its expansion? Sure, but like I'm still like I have that eagerness, but Avowed didn't do anything for me in the level of like, oh, that satisfied me. That satisfied that hankering. Like it's just the soundscape, the interactivity, the message for you, your eyes only, that sort of like approachability, where like the world's reacting to you constantly. Like Bethesda does that stuff really well. Avowed is very static, and it's one of my biggest critiques of the game, where I just feel like if you're a big Elder Scrolls fan, you might find some stuff you love about it, but like I think The Wandering is not nearly as good as like a premier Bethesda experience, for example. Like, and by the way, I say this as someone who like I thought The Wandering in like The Outer Worlds was just decent, Obsidian. Their best wandering experience, funny enough, was with Bethesda's tool set in New Vegas. Like, you'd see something in distance, you're like, what the hell is that? And you go and check it out. I don't really Avowed has wandering, but it's not like I would see a thing and go, oh, what is that? Like, I think there was just so much brush and vegetation and stuff that would be in the way that I'd like turn the corner and be like, oh, a cave entrance. Hello. Okay, let's just go in here. So, yeah, I come from a different camp in that sense. Like, I don't think Elder Scrolls fans are going to love Avowed. I think it might give you ideas of what you hope the Elder Scrolls 6 might do with like magic combat. Like the magic in Avowed is sick. Like I hope Bethesda ups their magic game. Like the idea of Avowed looking spells with like the spell crafting from Oblivion in Elder Scrolls 6. Like it might get the idea factory churning in your head, but I don't know if it's really going to satisfy that itch that Elder Scrolls has given you personally.
Yeah. It's much more in my approach, or like how I've how I've chosen to kind of play it is like this feels like just like a slightly deeper action game. You know, like it's not particularly like, again, the characters don't have like, and the NPCs don't have like life cycles where they're like moving around and living their lives, which I don't need, but I notice when it's not there. And it's like, you know, this feels more like, I don't know, almost like, oh my God, what's that game? I already forgot. It's like the magic shooter.
Magic
it came out like
Mortals of Avium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like something like that. It's like a linear kind of action game that's like, it's like vaguely open, and it's like, yeah, I just it's not going to scratch like an Elder Scrolls itch, because there isn't that moment of like, I remember my moment with Skyrim was like the Dark Brotherhood waking me up in when you go to sleep at one time and being like, this is different.
You sleep quite soundly for a murderer.
Yeah, dude. It was. I remember being like, that was the moment where I was like, this is something different. Okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. It is more static. It just feels more like an action game, which I happen to be in the mood for right now specifically. So like I'm kind of digging it, but it's definitely not this deep interactive RPG with like physics systems that are gonna, you know, blow your mind, or a consistent world state. It almost feels like, and this was, to be fair, like how the Outer Worlds felt too. It feels kind of like you're watching a play, I guess. Is the best way that I could, like, I feel like I feel like the Elder Scrolls and Fallout is more like this big kind of like you're in that world, but like Avowed and the Outer Worlds feel like you're kind of watching a play. You kind of see the seams, you kind of understand the limitations, and you kind of let your imagination fill in the gaps, which is, I don't think a lot of people are going to be into that, but I also think a lot of people are, like, so it's kind of, it's really a pick your poison type thing. But like, yeah, I'm in agreement with Matty where like this, as somebody who likes Bethesda games quite a bit, I'm a bit of a Fallout 4 defender, honestly. Like I like Fallout 4 quite a bit, outside of the settlement shit. But I didn't feel like I was playing that kind of game. It felt very different.
There's just a feel to Bethesda games when they hit where you're just like, there's nothing like it. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they're comparables. Obsidian's the closest you get. I'm with you. I don't think Avowed, you know, even like map markers, I think that's like a very core principle of like a Bethesda open world, or a open zone, if you will. Like, you know, it's like the map markers, you hit a location, it's like you discovered Chris's shack. You're like, okay, what's in Chris's shack? And it's like you find notes from Chris, and like it builds the story. It's a very purposeful tool to build the story. Like Avowed doesn't even have that. You know, so
yeah,
I think that's also a big part of it, is like the wandering feels kind of half baked because it's lacking some of the design elements that make a Bethesda game fun to wander in.
Yeah, there's also just not a lot of stuff to find. You know, like there's notes and a lot of lore.
Yeah, if you like reading books. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm not I cruised through a lot of those, bro. It helped in understanding the dialogue. I can't lie. You know, it's a lot, but it helps.
Yeah, but I think again, it kind of, I'm open to that. So like in Skyrim, I was reading all sorts of shit, you know?
Yeah. I just don't think it's well paced. You know, like you'll like walk into like something with Giada, like you'll walk into a room and there's like, I think I counted like 7 books, and I'm like, okay, I'm sure these are scattered around the game somewhere, but like, who's going to just pause and be like, my objective is 10 steps from me. I'm going to hit every single one of these. Like only the most thorough of a gamer, which isn't everyone, is going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like Control then. You're in a room, there's like 50 documents to read.
Oh, is that like, oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. And to me, like, this is kind of the example that I'm talking about, where it's like Control and Avowed. They're both, like, in my opinion, like they're really fun action games. It's fun to fight in these games. And because it's so fun to fight in those games, I'm infinitely less likely to sit there and read a fucking book.
Right.
You know, like I want to get to the next brawl. Yeah. But in like Skyrim and like Fallout, like I'm much more into, reading what the notes are and like reading like what's on the terminals and like, oh, what's the schedule like for this vault? And again, it's not because the combat in those games is like unbearably bad, but it's like there's a balance there that I think is interesting. I think there's an interesting conversation to be had about like, did we make this combat too good? Like, I don't know. I've never thought about that before, really, until I played this. And there's like comparisons where it's like, well, it is like a Skyrim, but like not. It's like more fun in the combat, but like, is that detracting? I don't know. It's a very weird game in that way.
Let's see here. Mojo Mason wrote in, "Hello all. This one is for Chris. I'm curious how you feel about Avowed coming off KCD2. I feel both games are trying to be a Bethesda clone with different approaches, and I can't help but compare the two. KCD2 is one of the best games I've played in years, and I just can't see Avowed getting anywhere close to the experience I just had with Kingdom Come. Thoughts?"
Yeah. So I'm playing both of these games. To be transparent, I did put KCD2 down about 15 hours in because I could tell it's just like, all right, this is a full-time kind of thing. Like I could already tell, like I was like, there's something here that I really, really like, but I can tell like where I'm at right now. I'm like, I'm not in the space to be receptive to everything that this game is doing right now. Like, yeah. And I think that's something like if you play a lot of games, you kind of get sensitive to that. You kind of can tell like, okay, I'm not open to this experience quite yet. Sure. But there's something here, and I'll come back to that when I have the time. And Avowed just seemed so much more manageable that I was like, oh, let me just get Avowed out of the way. And yeah, they're very, very different. Very different. And I think in some ways they kind of like, I hate the combat in Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I know that you're supposed to early on in some way, you're supposed to be like terrible, basically. You're supposed to build your skills up. But like I don't know, man. I was playing Kingdom Come Deliverance and I was like, I could physically in real life get better at sword fighting quicker than I am in this game. Like that's what it felt like as I was playing. I was like, this is a meticulous game. And even like the blacksmithing where it's just like, all right, you got a hammer and this is going to take like 15 minutes. Yeah. And it's like, damn, this is such a specific kind of game. Yeah. And this is really deep and really interesting. I think it's interesting that it doesn't feel like it's compromised by the voice protagonist. That's fascinating to me. Because in my mind, I would immediately be like, that's a bad idea. But it actually adds quite a bit. And it almost feels like it almost feels like a more refined version of what Bethesda was trying to do in some ways with Fallout, like or Fallout 4 specifically, where it's like you do have this voice protagonist and it does add it could add something. As evidenced by KCD2, but like they just didn't nail it in that game for whatever reason. And like, yeah, the world feels deeper. The NPCs feel like they're real. I like the writing specifically in KCD2. I think it's like
so good.
It's well done. It's like it's very mundane, but like it works. There's only like some things in KCD2 that I feel are like kind of like a little. Like, I don't know, but like there's a fast travel system in KCD2 where like you can choose, okay, I want to go back, but I don't want to walk all the way. Or it's like, I'll fast travel. And it shows you kind of on the map, almost like a Budokai 2 board game piece where you're like kind of moving through, and then it'll give you like a skill check where it's like, there's a silly little bandit on the road. And, you could, you want to try to avoid him, and then it'll give you the option to avoid him or take control of the character there. And if you do the option to avoid, I assume this is depending on your stats for sure, but like it literally always fails. And so for me, I'm like, the workaround that I've done is like, okay, I'll just fast travel. And then I hit that skill check. I take control of my character. I walk just slightly around where the bandits are. And then I resume my fast travel. So it kind of, there is like elements of like, it's trying to be a little bit immersive in some places where I actually kind of feel like it maybe doesn't work that well. But overall, I think it's like a really, really like comparing Avowed to KCD2 as an RPG. It's like no contest really. And I can tell that it's just somebody 15 hours into KCD2 is not really that long. That's not even a fraction of like,
it's like a Witcher 3 experience. Like it's like 150 hours probably if you want to do everything.
Yeah, like three of those 15 hours is probably blacksmithing. Or like save scumming because I kept dying fighting the guy who's supposed to teach you how to fight. Who's that guy? What the hell? Tomcat. Yeah, I kept dying against Tomcat, and I was like, I think I'll put a pin in this. But I think it's got an exceptional opening. I really like the way that KCD2 does the attributes stats early on, where it does it in the form of like telling a story, where you're like, oh, remember this time that you did this, and you get to choose what you did, and that kind of like relates to stats. It's like really cleverly done and really cleverly written and very immersive. I would say like that's the difference, really. Like Avowed is not immersive really at all. Like it's I'm very aware that I'm watching a play right now in Avowed. And KCD2, like sometimes I'll just be like wandering and it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very, very different.
All right. This is from Man Cave. No hello. Just a quickie. Wow.
Damn.
The lack of depth. Jeez. Not very nice here in Man Cave.
And even say hi, bro. You typed more characters saying no hello just a quickie than saying hi, guys. Come on. Come on,
Man Cave.
Have some fucking manners.
Many legacy reviewers use for Avowed has me rolling my eyes like a slot machine. The game's design was clearly not meant for NPC killing, pickpocketing, and other interactions of this sort. Hence my question. When are people going to judge a fish for its swimming ability and not its capacity to climb up a tree? Thank you. And may you have a Dustin become CEO of LSM type of day. This is interesting because I haven't played Avowed yet, but I've seen some stuff in the town because it's been going everywhere. Like people are posting those comparison videos to like Oblivion and stuff like that. Or what was it? Not Oblivion. What was the other one?
Skyrim.
Skyrim. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were like, I saw you could like steal stuff in that, which I'm like, okay, this is kind of like a immersive sim RPG thing that I expect from Bethesda games. But I gotta be surprised. I was surprised to see like these NPCs just standing around, almost not moving at all. So, was it right for people to kind of expect this game to be like a Skyrim like type of game based off past Obsidian games they've made and stuff like that? Or do you think people are going too far?
I don't know. I think this is a little column A, little column B for me. Like I think I understand the complaint about like judging something for what it isn't. And I kind of get it. I do feel like maybe on some level that isn't fair. But at the same time, there are certain things that I just think make the experience of the game that you're trying to make better as like a bit like even just something like pickpocketing. Where like I think I saw something. I was like, oh, well, stealing isn't really a thing in Pillars of Eternity, so it's not a thing here. It's like I get it. But it's a different kind of game, and it feels missing. Like there's something. It's weird that it isn't there. You know, like, and you feel like it almost wants to be, like, but it just kind of doesn't. And you know, to be fair to the game, I mean, like it does kind of invite the comparisons. Like even like when you stumble onto a new location, I thought it was tripping because that sound is like it's very reminiscent of like a Skyrim, kind of like the little drums. And I'm just like, oh, well, come on. Like you're making me want to like I'm actively trying not to think about Skyrim, and you're kind of making me think about Skyrim. I don't know. I think lack of depth is a reasonable critique to a game like this, especially, you know, a game that is billed as an RPG that took as long as it did. And granted, I understand that, like, you know, there's all sorts of behind the scenes stuff going on. I think there were like 2 reboots, right, for this game.
Yes, 2 reboots, 6 years.
Yeah. So knowing that, and maybe to be fair, like because I know that, maybe I'm like a little bit more lenient than a lot of people would be, because I just kind of like, oh, I kind of see like the seams and like why this is the way it is, and like, okay, well, you know, but it doesn't change the fact that, you know, people are going to expect certain things out of their games now, and I honestly I thought pickpocketing would be I thought it would be a shoo-in. Right. For like I had no anticipation that it wouldn't have pickpocketing, because it just seems like the kind of game that would have it, and I just think it's a valid critique. Whether or not that bothers you is a different story. Like again, it kind of doesn't bother me really, but I'm approaching it more like an action game because it just feels more fun to play that way. But I would bet that there's probably a lot of people who weren't looking to Avowed for an action game experience. Like, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised in that way, but like a lot of people come here for a very, very specific thing and it's not being fulfilled. Like I just played like so much of the Outer Worlds, and could you pickpocket in the Outer Worlds? I feel like you could. I didn't do it much as far as I remember. I'm trying to remember. I'm having like
I feel like I should know that.
I know that there were consequences.
NPCs in towns.
Yeah, I know that there was consequences for stealing shit. I know that. But man, I'm trying not. Whatever. Never mind. It doesn't matter. The point is, like, I think it's a valid critique, and I'm not so big on the kill. Oh, you can't kill any NPC, so the game's bad. Like, I don't know about that. Like, some of my favorite RPGs of all time, you can't kill everybody.
Right.
Like, I love Mass Effect 2 with all my heart. Like, that's a very rigid RPG by a lot of people's standard. So that doesn't bother me. But again, it really is a matter of like your personal preference.
You can pickpocket in Outer Worlds, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember I didn't do it much.
It
but
is
I remember,
similar
like,
to the hold. Like, you know how in Avowed you'd like hold a button and it would like fill a circle. It's the same thing here. So
right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think
I guess it would come with expectations then. It's like, okay, another RPG from you, this time fantasy. So I guess I would expect some stuff that you had in past games to be here, especially when it seems like it should be there. Yeah, a lot of people. I haven't played the game, so I don't know. But.
And even the Outer Worlds, to be fair, like, I mean, people criticize that for being like a more streamlined experience, and in many ways it is. But like everything that I want out of an RPG is there. It's just kind of like condensed. You know, it's like I remember the holographic. I did a lot of stealth stuff in the Outer Worlds, like, 'cause I talked my way through everything, and like the holographic shroud stuff was really awesome. Like, I love it. I used that so many times, and like I would get caught, and then I would use my overclocked charisma to talk myself out of it, and it was fun. Like, I loved it. I love breaking the game in that way, and there's really no way to break the game in Avowed. As far as I've played, like, I haven't really seen, and there's really no meaningful reason to do it either. Like, because might as well just kill everything.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have a better time doing that.
Maddie, how do you feel about these comparisons?
I think people are too defensive of this game. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You know, with respect, if you like it, you love it. Like, I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong, even though that's probably the vibe you got. I just think people are way too defensive of this game. Obsidian set a standard for themselves. They should try to live up to it. It's that simple, I think. Like, they, you know, as we just looked there, everything that's mentioned here, killing, pickpocketing, other interactions, these were in their prior games. And I'd put money on it that they themselves knew they wanted to do this, but they did not have the time to. It's just that simple. I can guarantee you that was the case because, you know, even when we interviewed Carrie, when we did it here on Define Duke, I was just like, you know, can you give us any sort of insight as a first time director, what you wish you knew, that sort of thing. And she talked about twisting old things into a pretzel to fit the new things. And sometimes it's better just to build stuff from the ground up. And after reading that Jason Schreier piece about like, you know, that they did 2 vertical slices and then the third one is what they built the Avowed we got off of. I think kind of what she was indicating there, and this is just me reading between the lines, I could be wrong, is sort of like they should have started from the ground up, because a lot of what makes Obsidian games great we're missing here. And she talked about how a lot of the game was made like laying the tracks down in front of the train as it was moving. And I think you can feel that. Like, you know, for example, why is it that party members in the Outer Worlds can leave me and get pissed and react to my choices, but in Avowed, I can burn down homes, I can fuck everyone over, and everyone's like, they'll give me a good talking to, and then afterwards they're like, I got your back no matter what. And that's not an exaggeration. That was literally a sequence I had that happened. Like, this is something that happens in Avowed. That's not acceptable, dude. Like, if you're going to invite these comparisons with your price tag and the style of game, this is what's going to happen. We shouldn't act shocked by this, especially if you are an exclusive backed by Xbox. You know, there's no reason why your game, when you were independent and working with Private Division, should be releasing with more features for RPG players that are tangible than your AAA style fantasy role-playing game that has a lot of the same systems. If anything, it should be more iterative. It should be deeper. In fact, it's more surface level than ever. Like, why do you have a backstory to select in your character creator when all of it is flavor text? Just don't invite that in at all. Like, less is more in RPGs. Like, you don't have that background selection. I don't pay attention to the fact that all of that is flavor text. Whenever I pick my Noble Scion, like, all of that, or we'll say, to be fair, like 98% of it is me just speaking a different way to someone. Everyone already does headcanon by the gameplay setup. Like, headcanon exists without you reinforcing it in dialogue. That should purely, in my opinion, purely exist for like a mechanical purpose that gives me the opportunity to do something I otherwise couldn't. I don't think Avowed does that enough. So I just think people want this to be something it's not. It's a fine game, as many reviews have documented. Some people do love it, and that's okay. But I think trying to defend it when it's lacking in features from the game that came beforehand. And look, as an Outer Worlds defender, like there are things that they should have evolved from that game. The Outer Worlds does have pretty stiff towns by comparison. Like people are like, why does that not matter? I'm like, it does matter. But one was a 2018 or 19 game, and it released at the right time, and it was doing a lot of the right things. That shit didn't really matter. Now we're in next gen technology. It's been 5 years since their last RPG. Let's see what you got, and it regressed. I don't see how there is an argument to be made that this shouldn't be better than the Outer Worlds. Now, that's why I have high expectations for the Outer Worlds too. A lot of people are like, I don't agree with the whole idea of like Obsidian's lost it. I've gone over that a million times. Like, I think that's the complete overreaction. I'm sorry. Like, it just is. It's they have not delivered such a heaping pile of shit that you like should go around being like, all their talent's gone. They're not who they used to be. I'm like, look, this is a compromised project that they tried to get out the door. It was a stupid idea. They should have started from the ground zero and built up from there. But the Outer Worlds 2 is the project I would judge them most harshly on, because it's like that is from the ground up single player role-playing game built off of the Outer Worlds 1, next gen technology. You announced it in like what, 2021, I think. Like you've been cooking on it for a while. Like according to LinkedIn, that shit started right after the Outer Worlds 1. So like you've been working at that for a while. If you have the gameplay of Avowed, the open zones of Avowed, but everything that made the Outer Worlds special, I think a lot of people, that's what's so exciting about this releasing so closely, is a lot of people are going to show their own ass if the Outer Worlds 2 is really good. Because if it has all the mechanics that the first one had, what are we going to do? Get pissed about that? Be like, this has more. What the fuck? It's like, yeah, it's going to look a little silly in comparison when you look at Avowed at the top of the year versus the Outer Worlds 2, if it actually delivers like it should. So, I think people are losing their heads a little too soon on this game. I don't think this game needs to be debated that much. It's a fine game. It's doing what it's setting out to do. It was supposed to be a multiplayer game. You can see a lot of that based on how the NPCs in the world is not interactable. That's unfortunately a negative of the game, but they chose not to undo that. And so when you charge $70, that's, you're going to reap what you sow. And so, yeah, I think people are way too defensive of this game.
Yeah. Well said, Matty. Very nice. Yeah, I'll get to it sometime. I'm still playing Kingdom Come, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to play Avowed also at the same time. No way. That's not happening.
That's the other thing, man. Releasing next to KCD2 did them no favors, because like the write-in, one of our write-ins suggested, like, you have two Bethesda-style experiences sitting right there, each cut from a different cloth, but I do think KCD2 represents, for me, as like a lifelong Bethesda fan, and I'm sure we can all agree, like a lot of what we hope Elder Scrolls 6 does. Like, I hope the open-ended quest design is something ES6 does. Like, I love that. I always use the example, so I apologize for being a broken record, but like KCD2 would be like getting the castle, and I'm like, okay. And there's like 8 different ways to get in. I'm like, that's awesome. That's great quest design, because it's like letting the level design work for itself, letting the NPCs work for itself. Like, it's not overly structured. It's really just exceptionally made. And I think those comparisons are also going to hurt Avowed a bit, because you released, I mean, we all saw this coming. Me and Cog talked about it extensively when KCD2 and Avowed are right next to each other. I'm like, bro, it's going to be a bloodbath. Like, it's going to be that back and forth constantly, because you're going to have two of these similar style games going at it. And as time went on, like, KCD2 did look like it was going to be the front runner, and it delivered as such. So, it's an uphill battle for Avowed. And I think that's why people are very defensive about it. Like, I've skimmed out Avowed Reddit, see what people are saying. It's like, people are very sensitive about this game. And I don't even think the criticism has been super fucking harsh, frankly, from critics. It's just been like, either like, it's fine. Some people are like, it's bad. I wouldn't agree with it being straight up bad. But I think some people are trying to overhype it because they spent like $90 on an early access. That's not what I get.
Yeah. I think it's underwhelming in all the ways that I feel like people anticipating it, like it really should not have been.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll just say in closing, at least from my point of view, it's like a lot of people would tell me like, you need to like dial back your standards in the terms of like their storytelling. That talent's not there anymore. And I'm like, yeah, they lost Chris Avellone and Tim Kaine, and like those are almost irreplaceable people. But like a lot of the people who have made their last 4 games incredibly, just really good. Pentiment, Grounded, The Outer Worlds 1, like those people are still there and in leadership positions. Like, it's not like, oh, fuck, they lost everyone. This is BioWare again. It's like, do your research, dude. Like, it's not that. It's just like this game, I think, was just a repurposed multiplayer game. And we're seeing the effects of that. You just can't, these conversion projects don't work. You just have too much crap baked in the cake that's not good for single player fans. And it shows. Like, there was no reason to be divisive in that regard. But when like people were telling me to dial back my storytelling favoritism, if you will, because I definitely grade narrative harshly compared to others out there, because I think it is like the spine of the entire game. It makes the fiction interesting and believable, and I think everything that surrounds it exciting. It's like, no, when a storied developer shows up with a game that has like 80 hours of story, not 80, that's extreme, like 60, 70 hours of storytelling here, like they have to try to say something just by nature of how big the game is. Like, they have to try and say something. This isn't like a Kingdoms of Amalur situation where it's like, oh, we had R.A. Salvatore show up and do all the lore, and we made a fucking sick combat system on top of it. Like, we have evolved in that regard. And I think Obsidian should be a front runner in writing. And if they're not, then there's trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. You put narrative on such a high pedestal in importance.
I just think it's cool. I just think it's really, I mean, again, that's why I tell people watch other reviewers. Like, my style.
Yeah,
like,
you should watch. Yeah.
I just think it's way more important than people give it credit for. Because here's the thing is what I was talking to Locke about. I was like, when you look at like Veilguard or Avowed, it's like everyone's laughing at these games for different reasons. But at their core, they are functioning, pretty games that have enjoyable enough action combat, depending on who you ask. Why are people still going after it? It's like, it's the characters, it's the story, it's the writing. Like, it is literally the center of the laughing stock of like AAA right now. It says a lot to me. I'm like, this is extremely important, whether people want to admit it or not. And
characters and writing is extremely important.
Yeah, it's like
extremely
everything
important
to me. Of course, gameplay matters a ton. Like, that is the hook. But eventually, like something like an Avowed, those first 10, 15, maybe even 20 hours are a good enough time. But like, when that loop sets in, you're like, I know what this game is now. It's up to the characters to carry it from there, because that's what you're there for at that point. And when they're ass, and you're left with the samey gameplay system, it just falls apart.
There's also not a ton of enemy variety to really carry the combat for much longer. A lot of bears. I like it, and that's a good point where it's like, it is like, it's like, again, I like it from an action perspective, but like, even I'm getting to a point where I'm just like, all right, well, it's another one of these. It's another one of the, like, there's not really like a ton of, like they're running out of things to show me, basically.
And that's when you're just over scoping. It's like, you got to know, okay, we're going to run out of shit. Let's not make the game like 60 hours long.
Right. Or that's the point where, like, that's traditionally, like, for me, that's at the point where I'm like, all right, like, then I'll look over to the characters in a game like that. And I'm just be like, all right, what's going on here? And I'm just like, oh, not much of anything. With all due respect. Like, I think Kai's okay, but like, that's
Kai's
really
solid. Yeah. Like, I can get behind Kai. If everyone was like Kai, I would be a little less critical of the game. It would still be a little let down, but because, like, for example, in the Outer Worlds, I only talk about like Parvati, Vicar Max, and Ellie. And Ellie really got picked up by the DLC, to be fair. So really, like, a third to half of that cast is deeply compelling to me. And I think that's all you really need. You're not going to love every companion. There's very few games that accomplish that. So I don't go in expecting that, like, every character needs to really hit home for me. It's like, no, these characters are supposed to be like different slices of life for different people around our globe. And they're going to resonate differently with others. And, that's why I think, like, for me, Parvati resonated, not because like I personally experienced what she did, but I just thought the way she was written in, the way the situation that you do, like what you go through with her for her like loyalty mission is very different from any other BioWare, Bethesda, Obsidian style RPG. And I'm like, that's enough for me, at least. So I also wanted to make that clear in case anyone listening, like, well, all these characters can't deliver. I'm like, well, less is more too. If you're doing 4 companions, at least I think 2 of these should hit pretty hard. But I think it was Gene who said it, that there's probably a strong chance that these were like the playable characters in the multiplayer game. Like, these were the heroes. And, like, oh, I'm Kai, and I'm, you're going to be Giada, Chris, and, we're going to play together. And then they had to make stories on top of them. Last thing, sorry, because I was mentioning this and I went off track, was with the whole thing that Carrie said about putting like the tracks down in front of the train while it's moving is I do think that's why some of the writing might have been compromised in this game, because it just felt very like bad at times. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're like putting down the tracks as you're going along, you don't know like what your systems are. Like, can the party members leave? Then you kind of immediately have to just write in circles until you know. And a lot of Avowed, as you can tell by like restating the lore, is like writing in circles. It's not purposeful. It's not driven forward. It's always just kind of going in a loop until like you get to a certain point, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna like nudge this relationship a little bit, like, hey, what the fuck was that? And then next chapter moves on, and it's like it never happened. I felt very restricted by its own systems, and so again, I hope the Outer Worlds 2 delivers in every way, just so that I can selfishly point to and be like, hello, see. But if the Outer Worlds 2, that's the thing that I worry about, is like, is the Outer Worlds 2 going to have all those systems? If Obsidian ditched them here, I expect it to, but I don't like that it has a question mark in that regard. So I'm still remaining optimistic though, just because I think, to me, Obsidian's been on a legendary stretch. Like, they have not missed for me since like 2004. So like, for them to miss a little bit with one, I saw some people in my comment section that are like, Matty still loves Obsidian. It's crazy. I'm like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna act like they created the fucking greatest sin of humanity because I thought one of their games was okay.
Yeah, just okay.
Yeah. It's not even close to like people are acting like it's a BioWare situation where it's like 3 duds in a row. You know, it's like this is very not.
Yeah.
They didn't do Mass Effect Andromeda and then Anthem and then the Veilguard in a row.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to really go back in their history, like I look at a Pentiment and I'm like, dude, that was like a unanimous 10 out of 10 game for most people.
People love that game.
It's directed by Josh Sawyer, the guy who was like one of the main minds behind New Vegas. It's everything that people were asking for. It was like, it's not even far away. We're 2.5 years removed from that. People got short memories online, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm over defending it, because I think Avowed is 100% needs to be. Again, people are way too defensive of it, but like the people who really want this to be the next Veilguard, I think you got the wrong target, frankly.
Yeah. No, yeah, well said. One thing I will say is like, if the Outer Worlds 2 should be an improvement on a lot of the things from the original Outer Worlds and definitely in Avowed. But like, truthfully, honestly, the way that I feel about it, I think even if it is exactly the Outer World, but it feels like Avowed to move around and like attack things, I think I'll be pretty satisfied, to be honest. Yeah. But because that is the one thing in Avowed that I think feels genuinely good, is just like moving through it. And again, that's probably from the fact that it is a multiplayer first game. It's like, okay, this is a gameplay first kind of game. We got to make it feel damn good every moment. Mm-hmm. And it does, to their credit. It does. It really I cannot overstate enough how much of an improvement smacking something with a heavy axe is in Avowed versus like the Outer Worlds even, and like definitely Skyrim, and like Bethesda's kind of melee combat is unanimously hilarious. But so like if it feels that way, and there's even some hints in the trailer that it might feel that way, like even just like something like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like some dude throwing like a grenade and like shooting it in midair, and I'm like, oh, that's good shit. So like if they got a good story again, if they got the actual meaningful kind of interaction, they got good companions, pickpocketing, please. Good stealth, and it feels that good, then I think it'll be a really fucking good game.
Yeah.
But you're right, Matt, that it's that there's a question at all is kind of sad. It's kind of sad. Yeah.
I'm pulling for them, you know. Avowed wasn't very convincing to me, but you know, I'm still pulling for them. If Outer Worlds 2 sucks, I will be concerned. That's when I'll that's when I'll be in my worried phase, but I don't want to get there quite yet.
Yeah, fair enough, dude. Okay, cool. I'll check it out sometime. By the time I get to it, it'll probably be patched up and nice. They already did like a balancing patch for the zones, because it was like the enemies are so spongy, at least in the review period, and they released something that just like I think will make it, when you get to it, Brad, much more fun to play. Yeah, cool.
I was playing it on hard for quite a bit. Nice. Because again, it just like from a combat perspective, it did feel good. But yeah. Dude, I will say too, I don't know if it's my rig or whatever, but like this game crashed a ton for me.
Damn. Like I saw some people having issues on PC. Yeah.
Yeah.
I played on Xbox where it was fine, but yeah, I heard PC wasn't great.
even on Xbox, like I had well, on Xbox it did crash, but I had like one moment in the game. I kind of alluded to it earlier, where like something happens to a major location. Game, it just literally like crashed to the dashboard like 3 times in a row, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" So, and that was recent. That was like 2 days ago. So I don't know. Technically, the game's kind of weird, but it's not like a Cyberpunk situation, so.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next game, boys, is what I've been playing. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I could never remember the name of that game. I had to write it down.
Brother, that sounds.
Yeah.
It sounds like a ChatGPT title. With all due respect.
I think it's a bad title, honestly.
Yeah.
It should just be like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza or something. It doesn't need to be in Hawaii. You don't need to write that there. It's fine.
This is more like what they said to pitch the game. You know what I mean? It's like, this is like the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, dude. Yeah. Man, that's funny. But yeah, so this is the new game in the long ass running Yakuza series. I'll just say it straight up. This game takes place after Infinite Wealth, and it kind of spoils some of the ending. It doesn't really, not like the important plot points, I would say. It just kind of tells you what happens at the end of Infinite Wealth. So if you're extremely sensitive to spoilers, maybe keep that in mind, but I don't think
that's good to know. I was going to buy this, but now I'm going to wait.
Well, it's not like, it's like the overall scope of what happens, Matty, I guess, but not like important character moments at all.
Okay.
So keep that in mind also. But if you're going to play Infinite Wealth, I would just play
I do want to. I want to go from the start to the finish at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep trying to will it into existence. I'm looking at that in Xenoblade and I'm just like,
That's a task, man.
Yeah, it's a task.
Yeah. I might do Xenoblade first, but yeah.
Xenoblade, far less entries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, so this game's been interesting because I beat Infinite Wealth like a month ago or something like that, and I'm already back to it, and I'm like, whoa. Because I've had Yakuza burnout for a while just because they shoot out like 5 entries in a year. It seems like it never ends. I don't know how they get away with it, first of all. Like, no... And I mean this with all due respect. No, it's one of the most milked franchises that people continue to love. And I get it because they're all very good. I think they're all really great games. But it is just really interesting how Sega found like the golden ticket with this game, or this IP, I should say. Anyways, really all that aside. Yeah. All that aside, though, yeah. So this game, you are Majima. The very beginning of the game, you wash up on a beach. He has amnesia. Don't really know why. I don't know why yet he has amnesia or anything like that. So kind of throughout the game, he's starting to piece it together. But yeah, you land on this island. You get ambushed by some pirates. This kid helps you out named Noah. And you get taken back to his town. And essentially, you got to go out to sea, the ocean. You become a pirate through circumstances. And you get your own ship and all that kind of stuff. And you got to find out your past, all that good stuff. But yeah, so this is a pirate game. First of all, it's very strange. You know, think of just a pirate game with that Yakuza flavor, the over-the-top action. There's definitely a lot of that, which is really fun. Like your pirate ship you sail around on. Kind of like Assassin's Creed Black Flag in the sense that, yeah, you're on the ship, you're in the ocean. You can like cut to a view where you're on the deck. You can walk around, all that kind of stuff. It's very arcadey and not... Like you have a Mario Kart like boost on your pirate ship, essentially. Awesome. He's like boosting, going wahoo in the ocean, all that kind of stuff. There's rings you go through in the ocean to go faster and stuff like that. There's pirates to fight. It's not as impressive in the sense of Assassin's Creed, where like, you know, in Assassin's Creed when you get like in a boat fight and you pull up to the ship and it's all in real time and stuff like that. Everyone stops. It's not like that. It's a cutscene skips and stuff like that. Like when you land on an island, it's not seamless to get off the boat. It just loads you on the island, which I was kind of bummed about because when I heard about this game, I was like, oh, I wonder how they handle the exploration in the ocean so far. Like, can I jump off the ship and swim around or like explore this island? Nope, none of that. It all just kind of loads you in. Like when you get on an island to get treasure, it just loads you in and you fight some guys, you get chests at the end. I'm like, okay, this is kind of like very basic and a disappointing level.
Damn.
But the game's still a lot of fun. Particularly one thing I like about this game is there's more enemies, it feels like, on screen than you're used to fighting in games like this. Like you'll fight and there'll be like 20 guys on screen or something like that. And the game accommodates for that. You have a lot more like AoE kind of stuff, I would say, this time around. It's easier to hit multiple guys. you know that feel, like you've played past games, like, right, Matty, so you kind of know how the combat feels.
Yeah.
To an extent, but this time they've made it a little more loosey, I would say, a little more arcadey, even more so. Just letting you do really crazy shit. Like, you have 2 styles in this game. If you've played past Yakuza games, you're very familiar with, like, Kiryu having 3 styles and stuff like that. There's only 2 so far that I'm aware of. There is the Mad Dog Majima, which is like the basic Majima with the knife. He's very fast with this stuff. He could punch and use his knife in the combos. It's funny, in this game you can air juggle with some stuff.
Yeah, I saw
you do
that.
combos, you can get in the air and air juggle. It's not quite at like Devil May Cry yet. You unlock more stuff as you go through the game, so I'm sure it'll evolve, but it's not as tight as a game like that. So just keep that in mind. It's not that much of an action game, but it's fun. But anyways, you can do that. He has an ultimate where he can do like shadow clones, and they do good damage, so you can switch between that. And his other form is a pirate form where he has pirate outfit on, 2 cutlasses, slasher dudes spinning around. This one's really good for AoE kind of cleaving attacks. I got some new weapons later on. Like, I got a pistol you could charge up and just shoot a bunch of guys, which is really funny. And I got like a grappling hook you can launch onto guys and pull towards you. So that's all good. All that kind of stuff's fun. That could also tie in kind of some of the exploration. Like, Honolulu is back from Infinite Wealth. You're exploring a lot of it, but you can use that grappling hook to like launch on top of a building, stuff like that. And maybe be clear before Chris even thinks it's cool is it's more like you just see like a little point. You can't do it freely anywhere you want. You see a little point and that's it. It's very basic.
I very much don't expect like a robust physics system out of like a out of a Yakuza game for sure.
It's not there, but it is fun. And it's cool, like side quests you do, a lot of them, they are people you can recruit for your crew, and you can lay out your own crew, and they have their own stats, and hey, if you put this person as your crewmate, you'll get like more damage to ships or something like that, because you have like your crew, you can assign them to roles, and the first mate who gives like a big buff to everyone, so keep that in mind. But I've just started unlocking the ship customization. It looks like it gets pretty fucking wacky, as you'd expect. I got like a shark cannon. I haven't quite shot it yet.
I saw you could get lasers for your ship.
Yeah, I think you can get some pretty gnarly stuff later on as you go through. So I'm just starting now to unlock all that kind of stuff. There's also a ship combat like arena thing I haven't gotten to. I'm going to it right now. It was story progress, but I'm looking forward to seeing that, because every Yakuza game has like the arena combat or something kind of similar to that. So I'm really curious to see how that will play out, because I assume it's all ship combat. But so far the game is fun. All the Yakuza games to me are like at least 8s or 7s. Just good time. You're gonna have a great time. I am disappointed in the lack of exploration out on the sea. I wish you could just get off your boat and swim around like Black Flag. I'm chasing that Black Flag high still to this day, where I feel like it could really fully explore the sea that's out there. What's funny though is also when you're on a ship, you could play like music. You could play like very Japanese rock when you're sailing around. You have a playlist, so it is totally bizarre.
I love
but it's totally that Yakuza flavor. It's still a lot of fun. I look forward to playing more. Majima's great. Of course, he's an awesome character, so can't wait to see what the story is and why he actually has an amnesia. I wonder what the length of this game is. I have no idea. The game is $60 also, $10 cheaper, so shout out Sega. Not bad. But totally Yakuza reused assets, all that kind of stuff are used to. But it's still a lot of fun. I'll see how I feel about it when I finish.
Is it the same exact Hawaii from Infinite Wealth?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the same map. Some things are different.
Okay.
It seems like there's more people this time around. It seems like, at least on the beach, which is cool. But yeah. Oh, there's also like cooking now, like a cooking game where you can like collect materials and make Cooking Mama, almost quick time events and stuff like that, which is kind of fun, but not required, of course. You can also, you have like an animal place you can level up your animal companions. And I guess if they get to a high level, they'll assist you in combat or something like that. Because in the game, you have just a baby tiger with you. He's like in your party and he'll fight with you.
It sounds like 80 different games at once. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the Yakuza games are now.
Yeah.
They're like 80 different things.
It's awesome. I love it.
And you can customize them. Like I gave him a little pirate hat and stuff like that. And they can find you items. And there's a ton of outfits for Majima. So you can get crazy with all that kind of stuff too, which is fun. And of course, the Segway is back from Infinite Wealth. So you can cruise around on that in Hawaii. But yeah, it's a good time so far. Kind of basic in some ways, but still quality fun. Especially if you like Yakuza games, you're going to have a great time. You're already in. But we'll see how things go as I play more. All right, let's see. This is from Late Night Cali. Hey guys, I finally started Like a Dragon after grabbing it and Infinite Wealth on a sale recently. It's so funny, has been a refreshing RPG to pull me back into the genre. How has Pirate Yakuza been compared to Like a Dragon games? This is my first Yakuza game, and I'm considering going back through the series at some point. But I might just watch the 3-hour recap on YouTube. Thanks for all the amazing podcasts each week. Y'all rock. So this is not turn-based like those two games you're talking about, Like a Dragon and Infinite Wealth. Those are turn-based RPG games. This is action like the old games. Yeah. Very action-y. So that's one huge difference right away. And this is a sequel to Infinite Wealth. So if you're just playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, you'll be totally fine hopping into this game. But if you want the context like I do for everything, play the old games, but it is a lot. It's a lot. So maybe it depends. If you just want to watch a YouTube video, I totally get it because there are a lot of content there. All right, let's see here. Michael Lady wrote in, Brad, one of my main gripes with the older Yakuza games is how they handle combat. It always felt like RGG took a one-on-one fighting game system and awkwardly forced it into a 3D space, resulting in encounters that, while they look cool, often feel clunky and lacking in flow and synergy. I'm bringing this up because the only reason I'm interested in Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is that the trailer showcased combat system that actually has fluidity and seems designed with multiple enemies in mind. So give it to me straight. Does it play like DMC Yakuza as it seems, or we still have that usual RGG jank? Well, I would say it's a step forward. It's not, like I said, it's not Devil May Cry polish or anything like that. It's just not. It's not crazy action game polish. But it is a step in the right direction, I feel like, and it does feel more fluid, and it is designed in mind to deal with multiple enemies. Mm-hmm. It is a step in the right direction, but yeah, don't expect crazy action game combat from this. It's a lot of fun, but keep your expectations in check with this game.
Yeah, they always switch it up a little bit. Like when I did Kiwami 1 and 2, like Kiwami 1 I thought was like an awesome framework. I really loved the stance system in that game. Like it was a fun brawler, but the different stances worked for different enemy types. And like I think this Kiwami 2 cut it down to like 2 different, or I think it had 4 styles, but it got rid of some of the ones I thought were really cool. And it just didn't feel nearly as good. So right. I get where Michael's coming from here. My thought process is you should just expect a totally different feeling combat system every time around.
Yeah, I would say it's improved a little bit, especially the speed. Majima's very fast, so you can have a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff. And it feels good to cut through all these guys.
It looks smoother than other games.
Yeah, it's a little smoother. Definitely. I'm really curious because I'm only like 4 hours in. I have no idea how long this game will be. I hope it's not Infinite Wealth length.
I've heard it's not. Game. I can give you an hour length if you want it, but like I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's like 20.
Yeah.
Max.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
20, 30. Depends how much. I mean, I feel
how
like
much you
games,
do. Cyclist.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like all these Yakuza games, like I've usually spent like 30 hours with them, but like you could spend 80 hours with them if you want to.
Yeah, you can.
You know,
definitely.
The stories are pretty short, all things considered. I kind of feel like a Call of Duty game. Like you got your campaign, you know, that campaign's like a respectable length, like 10, 15 hours. I'm not talking, by the way, about like a Dragon or Infinite Wealth. I'm talking about like the ones I did play, you know, nice 10 to 15 hour story. And it's surrounded by like the most absurd sub stories that you just want to see and get your fill until you're good. Did you try any of the sub stories in this game yet? Because I can only imagine.
Yeah. Like a lot of them are tied to, there's a part in the game where you need to get a certain amount of crew members, and a lot of them you can get crew members from doing them. Like one was revolved around this idol group fandom going on a tour with a Japanese idol. So there's still a bunch of wacky shit that you do expect from Yakuza games.
I love that. Yeah, their subquests are my favorite part.
Yeah.
Did they have the wild romance? I remember when I played Kiwami 1 for the first time, like that I will just say the one thing that sucks about Yakuza being popular now is like people kind of know what to expect. But when I went into Kiwami 1, I was like, let's see what this is. I will always remember that because of like the amount of absurd things it just kept delivering to me. And like one of them was like, oh, cool, there's like a romance system. Like I'm going to get involved in this. And then all of a sudden this like soft core fucking video, we'll just say pops up and it's like an actual real woman. I'm like, what the hell? Like, where did this fucking come from? Is that in this game too? Or is that just like Kiwami?
I haven't seen that in this game, like a dating system, but there's stuff like that in many Yakuza games.
Oh boy,
so
many.
That's so crazy.
So if you want to go down that hole, it's there. It's there for you. All right, boys, time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we just talk about something that's bothering us in the game industry. Maddie, I want to start with you. Is there anything that you think needs sorting?
Yeah, we're going personal this time.
Oh, shit.
I need the KOTOR remake to sort it out, man. I was just I was thinking about it the other day, and it just kind of captured me. And when we were summoned for this episode, I was just like, I need to just get it off my chest, man. I'm so tired of waiting. Like, I don't know how else to put it. I just want to know what this game looks like. That's all. I don't know if I'll ever get this game, but I always say to people, they're like, Matty, like, how are you drawing this up right now? It's like, look, part of my playbook for the KOTOR remake was never Saber Interactive. They were never there, but they have been divinely selected to do this KOTOR remake. And this might be the most important video game of my entire lifetime since I first started gaming. This is my favorite video game ever. To remake that, like, I've never been in this spot before where I'm like, this feels like all or nothing. Like, if people thought I got emotional about like reviewing Veilguard or something, you haven't seen shit. You have not seen a fucking thing yet when I review this goddamn game. I will cry when that trailer. I mean, Chris was there for the reveal. He knows the level of intensity. I made Chris deeply fucking uncomfortable.
No, it wasn't. It was like we watched it because Matty had an office at the time.
Yeah.
And it was in New York, and I was like with him in person. We were watching the showcase because we both were obviously had to watch it for the shows that we were doing. And I think, did you rip the earphones out of the...
I stood up and accidentally like ripped the whole audio setup out. Yeah, like I'm not a rambunctious guy, but like that was peak lack of self-control, right?
That was so awesome.
And KOTOR will just pull that at me because I was like, I remember before that showcase, I think I told you, Chris, I was like, I'm getting warning shots about this. Like, I have people who are like, you should tune in. There's something for you very specifically. And at the time, the KOTOR remake rumors were like warming up, and I was like, no way. I was like, there's no fucking way. And it happens. And then catastrophe hits. Catastrophe. The good news is it's away from Embracer Group. That is good, right? So this can get maximum investment. But like, I trust in Saber. You look at what happened with like say a Space Marine 2. You're like, okay, like this team has a lot of potential. They're not role-playing game developers. So that's what I'm like a little worried about. I'm like, KOTOR is like a very deep role-playing game. And no doubt I already feel very convinced like the combat's going to be like action oriented, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as the choice and consequence is there, the light side, dark side meter is there, those sorts of things. I hope Jennifer Hale comes back as Bastila. I will accept nothing less. Like, that's the thing, bro. Anytime I think about it, it's like, I need fucking answers, bro. Like I bet there is a scientific study you could do on me. Like, when did lack of sleep begin for Matty? It's like when the KOTOR remake went awry, 100%. So I need I don't even know if PlayStation's involved anymore. I need someone to sort it out though. Right?
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on here, and I respect taking your time and all, but like, feed me something.
Yeah, you gotta give something.
Feed me a little fucking update. Like, just a little something, man. I need to know more about this game. I do. I don't need a release date. I just need some info. Like, here, like, it's alive, everyone. Here's how it's hanging. Come join Saber Interactive and work on this game with us. Like, do a little hiring trailer, please. Like,
they could like do the old days and just give you a piece of artwork or something like that and call it a day, like Nintendo used to do. It's like, they ain't giving you shit, Matty.
I would analyze that for hours.
Yeah. That's what happened. I remember with Zelda, that's what happened.
I'm good with promotional images. Like, just something.
Just something, man.
I need to know.
When did they announce that?
Oh my God.
2021. Yeah. And then it got moved off of Aspire 2022. And then Saber went away from Embracer within the last year or so. I'm trying to remember when exactly that was. Maybe it was 2023. Anyway, the game, I mean, I'm sure the game is still like years away.
Yeah.
Because the question is, what happened when we still have no clue what happened with like Aspire, and just, we know that they lost the project because Sony didn't like what they saw. And so much of that, Sony's like pulled away from them, and now it got passed to the original co-developer in Saber. So I don't know if now that Saber has it, they're like, well, let's build this from the ground up, or if they're doing what Avowed did and they're like, let's take the old stuff and turn it into the new stuff. That's like the other worry. I'm like, these conversion projects like almost never fucking go well. You have to have a very clear, concise vision from the start. So if they did restart, we're not seeing this thing for another like 3 or 4 years.
Damn.
Which I'm just like, they couldn't have picked a worse fucking game to just like pull me around on. It could have been anything. Maybe Sly Cooper I would have lost my mind this much for. But I don't even think Fallout 3 would like keep me this awake at night. Like a KOTOR remake. So you
gotta believe, I guess, Matty, because I was kind of in the same boat with you at a time with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was like, oh god, they're rebooting development. Tetsuya Nomura doesn't even know he's the director of the game. What is going on with this shit right now? But it's been a long time, man. 4 years since we've heard about the game.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, I know. They got to sort it out, bro. I could go in
sort it
circles.
out. You're right, dude.
It's at the point where I'm noticing defense mechanisms emotionally popping up. Like I used to play KOTOR 1 and 2 every year. I have not done that in like 2 years now because
you're hoping.
I'm like, no, it's not even that. It's like I could play these games. I'll still play those games even after remake, but I think it's like I'm going to reattach myself to something that I really deeply want. And I'm not ready for that pain. Like I'm serious about it, bro. It kills me, man. So I just need a little something.
Dude, you deserve it. You deserve a little.
Well, that's very
crumb.
Sweet of you.
It's ridiculous.
I would kill for a little crumb of KOTOR.
Do some like Revan artwork or something. I don't know, man.
Bro, this is the one.
Give him a lightsaber concept art.
I'm afraid to move this. Hang on. If you want to see next level Cope, hang on.
Oh, I want to see this.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Whoa.
Yes, sir. This is
next level Cope.
This was
right.
I bought this before Christmas last year, and it came in the mail. This Revan figure statue thing is like my lifeline. I like pray to this at night.
That's awesome.
Your effigy, dude. That's literally so funny.
Literally. Oh god, it's falling.
Okay. Damn, dude.
Okay. Yeah. So
great sorted out.
I could spin. Yeah, I could spin in circles, but I'll cut it short there. Yes.
Great and depressing sorted out. That's like sorted out of the year so far. I love it. That was passionate. That was passionate so far. That was good.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, what about you? Anything you think needs sorting out?
Yeah, I mean, well, man, the question is like, which one? I have like a Rolodex right now of which is the most dated sentence you could possibly say. I think, you know what? I'm gonna go Bungie.
Ooh, okay.
Because look, Destiny has been kind of like, I don't know, man. It's been trucking along there. It's been in its post ending kind of. What the fuck are we doing? Like, how are we gonna? And I understand the reasons why. I understand that there's a whole thing going on with them and Sony. I understand that there's a big power shift. I understand that even recently there was that lawsuit. I don't know if you guys saw the.
I never looked into that. Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't look super deeply into it either, but like I think there was like a sexual misconduct with like one of the older guys there, and then he countersued, and then they were like, here are the texts.
Wow.
and so it's just like it's pretty crazy stuff. It's not like Epstein level crazy shit, but it's definitely like you would fire somebody for this for sure.
Yeah.
And so like there's stuff going on over there. We haven't heard really anything about Marathon in any meaningful context in a while, and this was the year that it was supposed to it was originally slated for. We got that really, I think, fantastic teaser kind of concept trailer, which I think is just like gorgeous. But nothing since. Radio silence, basically. Like we've heard a bit of a shift behind the scenes of maybe the direction it's going. We heard that maybe it was now going towards a hero shooter, but then we heard like contradictory information about that like, no, it's still an extraction shooter. It's just going to have like more defined characters. Like, I don't know what's going on with this thing. And I just want to see it, especially now that like I'm basically like off of Destiny now. Like I'm set. Like I got everything that I feel like I could really get out of it over the last like decade. And they had their Avengers Endgame moment and it was great. They nailed it. And I'm kind of good. I don't need any more of it. I want to know what their next thing is. And I know they got that kind of Sony offshoot studio that's working on that weird MOBA. I know that Marathon is still being worked on, but like I'm getting antsy now, man. I want to see it. I want to know where, like, what the next Bungie thing is. It's not often that happens. Like it's literally only twice that this is like in in the history of Bungie as we know them, where it's like, okay, Halo, Destiny, and it's 10 years on each of them. I want to know what the next thing is going to be.
Crazy, yeah. I never.
And I know that there's like some alarm bells being. It's kind of the same thing of what Matty was talking about with Obsidian, how people are like, that's not the same studio anymore, man. Like, what the hell are you talking? And I'm just like, brother, come on. Like they nailed the final shape in a way that I don't think most people could have done. So like, regardless of what talent is there, like whether it's old legacy talent or new legacy talent or new talent, like that's a talented studio, and they've missed on some expansions, but I would argue pound for pound, like there are as many good Destiny expansions as there are great Halo games from Bungie, you know? And so like, I think they've still got it, or at least I hope they do. But I'm eager to see this thing.
Yeah.
And I guess I just want them to figure it out. I'm not saying rush it out the door or anything, like delay it if you got to, but I want to at least see it. You know, I know people played it. I know people who've played it. And they will not say a damn thing. They got like crazy lawyers or something. Because usually, like I don't know. Usually, I got a buddy that like usually I can give him like a shot, and he'll let something slip. But
not this time.
He's unusually tight-lipped, and I'm like, damn, dude, what's going on? But I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I love Bungie. I love the way their games feel. And if they can do it again, if they can pull off a hat trick, that'll be at least some positivity going into this next kind of phase of whatever the industry is going on now. It's like where it feels like there's like 7 years between projects, and oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a weird place to be as an industry.
I think their business model and what they do for Marathon will be very interesting. Like, you know, because Sony in particular is in such a crazy spot where you have just two extremes. You have your Helldivers 2 and you have your Concord, and you see Fair Games got delayed, and you're like, okay, they clearly have some reasonable level of fear about like how their next live service stuff will be received. And I just like look at all of that combined. I'm like, this has to be such a tough choice for them. Like it was already tough, but now it's like, do we charge for this thing? But are people willing to pay for this? And then you see like NetEase like offloading a lot of its like American stuff, and you know, like they laid off like a small amount of their staff, and you're like, even an extremely successful free to play model is still fighting a little bit of an uphill battle. Not like these are one-to-one situations, like it's not doing well enough so we can't keep all of this. I think it's just not aligning with their business interests from what I gathered. But point being is like, if they go free to play, it's going to be a tough fight for them, you know, and I just wonder if they would ever want to justify that price tag in the PlayStation ecosystem. You know? Yeah,
it's so weird. Like if I was at PlayStation, I almost wouldn't even really know how to read that data. Like because Helldivers 2, like I remember when like before Helldivers 2 was coming out, I remember seeing the trailer and being like, that looks fine. You know, I remember being like, probably not going to play it. Like I don't know, like it doesn't seem like it looks cool. I like Starship Troopers, but like it's not really. And then I just couldn't stop hearing about it. And I jumped on, and I spent a hefty amount of time in that game. Like I loved playing that game.
Yeah, sure.
Great feeling video game. And it's emergent, and it's got like, it actually reminded me a lot of Halo, like just the weird physics bullshit that can go on. It's like, this is great. This is mayhem. I love it. And then you have, again, Concord, which, you know, in my opinion, played pretty well, but was just so ugly and disgusting to look at that I just... And I'm like I wouldn't call myself a Concord defender, but I definitely played that game, and like I was like, yeah, this feels pretty good, but like this, I'm not itching to play it ever. You know, like it didn't have that just one more game factor that I think a lot of those games really thrive on. And I don't know. I just feel like Bungie is such an interesting studio in the sense that I didn't really start off as a first-person shooter fan. Like I was playing like platformers and fighting games. Like I was like Marvel vs. Capcom and like Spyro, and like that was my bag, my wheelhouse. And then like I had played Doom and like Medal of Honor, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then Halo comes out, and I'm like, oh, maybe I do like these. And then, you know, Destiny is like, yeah, I'm not really into looter shooters. I played Borderlands, it was fine. I'm not really into MMOs, I don't really like them. And then Destiny comes out, I'm like, oh damn, I do like this. And so like I'm in that same boat with extraction shooters right now, where I'm like, I play an extraction shooter and I'm like, I kind of don't get it. And I'm just waiting to see what their twist is going to be, like how that game feels, like what that's going, because that genre doesn't really have that breakout game. Like like Tarkov is the biggest example, and that's still a pretty
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big game, but it's not like people don't talk about that game really.
Right.
That's
I know
not,
it's not like mainstream mass appeal kind of thing.
yeah. And I'd be curious to see if they can do that with extraction shooters. They seem to have a good grasp on FPSs and what makes them tick. Even this late into their design, and this late into the evolution of their team. Obviously, like that's not the modern Bungie is not the same Bungie that made Combat Evolved. But as Destiny has improved or gone on, like I feel like the gameplay has gotten crazier and way better. Like they put that grappling hook in I can't remember what expansion it was, but like a recent one. And it felt great. And I'm just like, they get it. They understand that physics is cool and important and a big part of what makes these games feel so dynamic. And like I've played games of Halo 3 in the early 2020s where I've seen shit that I've never seen happen before, just because that engine is so robust. And if they can keep that in an extraction shooter environment, like that's exciting. And I'm into it. But I'm concerned about them because, like, I do know the financial strife that they've been in. I do know that they've been gutted, not in comparison to other studios, but like they've had a lot of their team leave, and they've had internal people work on, get spun off into their own like Sony first party, working on that MOBA, which, I'm not big on MOBA, so like I don't know, it doesn't really interest me, but I want to know what's going on. I want to see gameplay of this thing first off. That's it.
Yeah, we need to.
Even just give me 10 seconds. Just give me I want to know what this game looks like in motion at the very least. So sort it out, get it together. I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah, they do need to get it together. Whatever they're doing with all those live service games.
Yeah, Sony in general needs to really get
you sort that shit out.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Mine's going to be a sorted out to the future in a sense, because I already know. Pokemon Presents Pokemon Days this week. They're going to do live stream. I know they're not going to announce the old Pokemon games for current hardware in any way. No red, no blue, no gold, no yellow, no silver. So we will still not have a legal way to play and buy these games in any way. So
you actually don't know this?
Oh, I'm just predicting the future right now.
Sorry.
So sorted out future. This is for the future. Sorted out on Pokemon Day, which is Thursday, because I know they won't do it. And if they do it, I will stand down.
Then sort it out, Brad.
I will sort it out myself. Yeah, I'll stand down and give myself a sorted out. But you won't, Pokemon Company. You won't, because you're cowards.
It's just, I saw the rumors. Yeah, it was like there were like 2 collections, and they were like all these gens.
Yeah,
like, you don't think they're going to
believe that
individually and just milk you dry? Like,
I refuse to believe
there's
that.
no way they just blow their whole load like that and just be like, yeah, let's just give all this at once. Like,
that's like every Pokemon direct rumor.
Yeah,
ooh, finally giving us 3 ones. And like, nope, here's Pokemon Sleep.
Do you think we get ZA?
Yeah, I think we'll see that.
Okay.
Well, fucking better. Like, what else are you gonna show? A plushie? That fucking plushie they made that's like 4 feet tall that people are getting weird about? They could.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, don't look into it. All right.
Yeah. Way ahead of you.
Yeah, this is from Tony Rigatoni. Hey, summoning bath salts. I was excited to try Avowed on my Series S, only to find out that it ran like absolute dog shit. 30 FPS drop frames and input lag all gave me my first nausea while playing video games. Rip in peace to all my boys who bought into a Series S for the easy entry into Xbox, only to be constantly shat on. I was absolutely flummoxed that a game could feel this bad. Now, I have a fantasy RPG blue balls. All I have left is to give is a hefty sort it out. Is this game dog shit on Series S, Matty?
I never tried it on Series S personally, but I don't know if Cog
uses Series S, doesn't he? Sometimes
a decent amount, because I think he's got 2 Xboxes. I think he's got like one for his main setup and then a Series S in his room. I'll have to ask him about it, but yeah, I haven't heard anything on that front personally.
Damn, first time getting nausea while playing a video game.
Yeah, that's something.
Input lag. I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I have a Series S at home in my like bedroom at my parents' house, but even that's like I'm only home like a couple days.
Yeah,
so I use it mostly for just like It's nighttime. I'm gonna play like Gears 2 or something. Like a 360 game. It's like that's all. Yeah. I can't imagine playing like like a modern like a this year game on a Series S. Like I don't know how that would even work.
Yeah, I don't either. Series S, weird system.
Yeah, very strange.
All right, this is from your boy Nikki V. Hey, Jabba the Slut Brad, Count Dicku Chris, and plain old boring Matty.
Damn it!
Damn.
Oh wow,
Jeez.
I couldn't even get a fucking name here.
Damn, guys.
Plain old boring Matty.
It's fucked up.
I'll just jump off a bridge, man. It's fine.
Yeah. With rumors of a 2027 start for next gen, I would like to propose a sort it out to the console manufacturers. I mean, who the fuck is really out there slow jerking at the idea of a PS6 or a new Xbox with games costing an insane amount and taking forever to develop? Isn't more horsepower the last thing we need? Am I wrong on this, or would you guys happily wait until 2030 and let the industry stabilize a little? Cheers, and don't forget to wash out your shum buckets, Nick. What the fuck are you talking about, Nick?
I'm scared to Google that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Definitely don't do that. Nick is clearly unhinged.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you want consoles in 2027 or do you want to wait till 2030?
I feel like we're just getting started in a lot of ways, but I don't know. Part of me is like, give me the reset now, bro. Like, it's just so fucking clear. This is like a wash generation. Like, I don't think we're going to look fondly back on this one. I really don't. I look fondly back on Xbox One and PS4 already. And I think part of it was that feeling was accelerated by just like this generation. Like, it's just, I'm forgiving of like, oh, we have to figure out timelines and budgets and all that stuff. I'm forgiving of that, but like this just felt so amateur hour this entire generation of like we've been figuring it out for 5 fucking years. After it's our like what generation is this again? Like I get things evolve and whatnot, but in a lot of ways this generation has been unacceptably fucking mid. There's a lot of great stuff. You gotta look at a lot of places to find it, but I just think a lot of our goats have fallen off this generation, and it's sad. So I think just hit the fucking reset button. Everyone needs a clean slate. Let's rejuvenate some of that optimism once more. I wouldn't hate new consoles sooner rather than later because, yeah, I know every generation is supposed to mark like a major step forward. I really don't know what I would identify with this gen. Like, frankly, like ray tracing, maybe. Like 60 FPS standard, mode. Maybe, but I feel like this was the generation with the return to the 30 FPS for like quality mode shit. So I don't know, man. Throw it out. Get rid of it. Give me next gen. To answer this question, I am slow jerking at the idea of a new PS5 or Xbox, or what, PS6? Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, PS6.
Yeah, I definitely want PS6 2027. Yeah. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're going to do cross-gen for a while anyways. That's just the way things are now.
Yeah.
So if I can get an even better version of the games, sure. I'll take that shit. Why the fuck not?
Yeah. I'm just also insanely curious what Xbox does. Like, that's like, why don't I? I just want to know, like, okay, this is probably your last swing. Like, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah. Here's your external hard drive. That's like your next Xbox.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think? You want new consoles 2027?
I don't know. Like
7 years for a cycle.
It is. I'm of the. I guess it depends on like from how you want to approach it, because like I also feel like this generation has been completely fucked. But I also kind of feel like from my perspective, it's like, all right, this has been fucked. Like we need more time to figure this shit out. Like you got to figure this shit out. Like this, there's no reason. We just got the PS5 Pro or whatever, and so like the thought of like PS6, like what could the PS6 possibly be at this point? Like I feel like games look so good already. Like if you can't figure out how to get your game running well, like I feel like that's a skill issue, brother. Like that's a skill. Like I don't know. Like you're working with so much stuff right now. Like I don't get it. I don't get how things have fallen off so hard. I'm in agreement that like this has been a complete wash, but I almost feel like maybe like there's an argument to be made where it's just like give it more time to maybe like try to redeem this thing. But I am also like of the mind it's like there's no half step kind of. I either feel like you either extend this generation or you just you do it now. Like completely like move on. This year just announce like, hey, sorry, this sucked. we're gonna move on. And next generation does seem a little bit more promising. I know that Xbox is working on that handheld that I'm very, very curious about. That to me is like the most. That's to me is the most like compelling thing. Because I'm like, all right, what's going on? What's going on with that?
Because
I've been wanting that for ages.
Games. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's primarily, honestly, it's kind of primarily how I've been playing a lot of stuff. I've been streaming so much of my games to my Steam Deck from like my PC and my PS5 that it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in agreement that like this generation, I don't even know what. It's not to say that we haven't gotten good stuff. I think like Indiana Jones was great, and like there's a handful of like really great titles that I think we've gotten that I will remember fondly. But like, there's no feeling to the generation. I feel like there's no distinct.
I think all of us will remember like 2023 fondly for sure. But I look at like the whole breadth of the generation, and like for me, you know, I felt something, but I was like, I don't know. Let's wait. It was Deathloop when I played that, and I was like, oh boy. I was like, Arcane. Like I love Arcane stuff, but that game felt like very limited. I was like, why is this so linear? And they were trying something new. They were like, let's push our tech. Let's do like an asymmetrical multiplayer experience with all this. I'm like, all right, you know, it felt very limited. I think because of that, among other things. And that was like where my first eyebrow raise happened. I was like, why is this game so? I mean, compared to all the other disappointments I had this generation, Deathloop no longer really compares. Like when Deathloop first, when I reviewed that, I was like, yeah, this isn't nearly as good as Arcane's previous games. But then you get like a Redfall, and you're like, Deathloop, perhaps I judged you too harshly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does feel like there's just been like a steady, and then there's also, not even to mention on PlayStation's behalf, dude, like all these live service games that are just canned now, and now those studios are just off the board, like completely. Like they had who did they have working on a God of War live?
Blue Point.
Blue Point.
Yeah.
What? How do you? That is, dude. I was crashing out for like a day and a half when I read that. I was like, I can't even believe how anyone would make that decision.
It's just bad management this generation, dude. It's just been really bad oversight.
A lot of bad management.
You know, like I'm sure the talent's still there. There's reason to believe that when you look at a lot of the games. But even things like, even the bad decisions come down to like when you see a clear, like what you think at least is a good enough success to warrant like future investment. Like I think a Dead Space remake, I'm like, there's no reason why they shouldn't have gone on to like do the second one, which is the game I think more people wanted to see remade anyway. Like that game sold millions of copies, and they're like, yeah, it didn't do enough. And I'm like, what? Like how?
What did you want this game to do?
Yeah, like it's different with a Veilguard where I'm like, this was BioWare's all or nothing game. You put a ton of marketing. Probably the marketing budget was bigger than your development budget. Like spent 8 years on it. Like I get when like 1.5 million players, not even sales, is not enough. That makes sense to me. But something like a Dead Space where I'm like, you didn't do Game Pass or anything. Like it was just you show up, you buy it, and like people were there to support. And they were like, the next step was right there. They pitched it. They were also pitching Dead Space 4. I'm like, you had like you had the competitor to Resident Evil, which everyone's buzzing for Resident Evil 9 without even being announced right there. So I just think, there's been a lot of bad decisions made too. That's like one that comes off the top of my head, you know, where it's just, it feels like time wasted. I think that's why, like, I was talking to a buddy about the whole Muse announcement with Xbox, and like, he was in favor of it. Like, he was like, yeah, I think like the iteration is going to be really good. And I'm like, you look at these perfectionists of their craft, right? They're already having trouble making good decisions with what they have now. Now you're going to give them an AI tool that's going to put in front of them multiple slices of an idea that they didn't even know they had. And they're going to pursue probably all of them to try to figure out, like, is this good or bad? And I'm like, you think development timelines are going to go down because of that? It's like, no, they're going to invest more and try to like exhaust all these options or bloat their games. Like, I don't see that helping either. So I think it just comes down to decision making when I think about it more, you know, just the sometimes less is more, as I've said multiple times this show. And I feel like we lost sight of that with like new powerful tech. It's like, what do you mean we can make a huge world? It's like, I already have Earth, bro. Like, I'm good. I got a world. Like, I need a game. Yeah,
that's exactly how I feel. Where I'm just like, brother, just please. I don't need this insane, like, oh man, you could see the individual skin cells on this character's face reacting in real time to the weather. I'm like, but leave that to like Rockstar or something. Like, I don't I don't know, this chasing of like fidelity too, like is just such a false North Star to me. Or like some of my favorite games in the last like 10 years have been games that don't look particularly modern, you know?
I agree. This is an obscure pick. I'm curious what you'll think, Brad, but I do think of Final Fantasy 13. I'm just like, I don't think we need to go further than that in a lot of ways, you know? Like
from visual standpoint,
yeah,
you mean?
Like I like when that hit, like that game still looks modern to me. Like
yeah, it's about art direction usually.
Yeah, I'm like that game
100%.
Still looks ridiculously good. Obviously, it made its sacrifices at the time. That is a super fucking linear game. But my point being is like, I don't view that as like the peak. Of course, we saw like Naughty Dog do crazy shit with mocap and whatnot. Like there were levels to that shit for sure. But I'm like, how far did we need to push it after that is what comes to my mind. Or like The Last of Us Part 1. I'm like, how far do we need to push this?
Yeah.
You know?
Especially
my standards are lower for visuals, just to be clear. Like I value art over like fidelity for sure.
Yeah,
but it's of course.
But dude, but especially if it's going to take 6 to 7 years to develop things, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's too long, man.
Like how
for most games.
You got to get real, man. Like nobody wants. I don't even think that's like an appealing proposition from a talent perspective. Like what the hell? You're gonna make one game for 7 years? How many games do you have in you at that point? It's like
how do you build legacy?
Small.
How do you build legacy if you take like decades for games, right? Like you just I think the reason we have those established teams that we follow now is because they were able to release like 4 games in a generation. You're like, damn, this shit's really good every time around. Like I think that's how Naughty Dog really got established, right? They were like, here's like Jack, this whole trilogy right here on the PS2. Yeah. Here's like the whole Uncharted story, and then we're gonna end it on PS4, but we're going to give you The Last of Us to cap off this generation, which is something different. Like, it's just like that attachment is gone for so many people because you don't see these companies for so long. And when they show up, they're like, what do you mean you're not excited? I'm like, dude, you took 5 years for this, like, or 7 years for that. Gotham Knights stands out in my head as that example. That was another breaking point for me where I was like, you guys have been gone since Arkham Origins, which is an awesome game, by the way. I love Arkham Origins. I was like a Gotham Knights defender. I was like, this game, I like that it's doing something a little bit different.
Arkham Origins
is great, but like Gotham Knights, I was a defender of when it got announced because I was just like,
okay.
Because like when it first got announced, I was like, okay, like it's an action RPG. It's not trying to be Rocksteady. I like that they're creating that separation because Rocksteady's gonna. At the time, we didn't know what was happening with Suicide Squad. I was like, they're gonna make like a free flow action game and it's gonna be fun. Boy, was I wrong. But then you get your hands on Gotham Knights after like what I think it was by the time it came out in 2021, it was like 7 or 8 years since their last game, and it's like. It's just fucking unacceptable, dude. Like this game's a mess. This game feels like it was supposed to be live service. You saw the reaction to Avengers and you were like, oh God, undo it all. And you're left with like insane, like menus and components and crafting and a Gotham game and really awful side quests. I mean, just, that was another one. That was like another signal flare shot for me where I'm just like, oh, God.
Yeah. That and Suicide Squad, dude. Suicide Squad even more so to me. I'm just like, yo.
Yeah, WB's had an awful generation.
That was a depressing game.
They've had an awful generation.
That was...
I think the only good game they put out this generation was Lego Skywalker Saga. That's the first one.
They put out Harry Potter, which was very successful for them.
Right, yes, Hogwarts Legacy. I always forget to do
Hogwarts,
that.
Yeah,
that's a much better example.
yeah, that was, and to their credit, that's a massive game, but like... Yeah, I think the timeline between the development timelines and the budget inflation and all this stuff is just like it's a recipe for disaster. And if it keeps expanding like this, like if we get to the point where it's like we're getting one game a generation from these big studios, like you can't sustain anything at that point. Like it's Jover at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's sad.
Agreed.
All right. This is from Harley K. Sorted out game devs and their expectations. Why would I buy your new buggy game for $70 when I can buy a 5-year-old game that runs perfectly with all the DLC for like $30? We don't have time for all of you.
Get it off your chest.
Geez. I'm going to know how to respond to that. Okay. Just wait, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people like, if I didn't do this, right? Like this whole, we're talking about things as they release to kind of inform the audience. Like, dude, wait, always wait. Like give it a month and it'll be like $20 off. Like these games are, I was having a conversation with my audience because a lot of people were like, why is Avowed, if Avowed's like AA style game, why are they charging $70? I'm like, because they can't. Because they think that you expect it to be $70. So they utilize that. That game probably could have been charged for like 60, but they're like, they obviously they'll base it off their investment more times. It's like, oh, if we charge 70, we only need to sell like 1 million copies and we're good. Obviously that value proposition differs for everyone, but like I always tell people, I'm like, just wait. Just like you'll get the patches, you'll get probably $20 off. You'll have a better idea of what's good and bad about the game. Like there's no reason to be part of that zeitgeist. None.
Yep.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
Which I get. Games are fun. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the exception. You know, we're not the our buying habits should not be replicated.
100%. Or even arguably the playing habits, you know? Like I'm balancing like 2 or 3 games and like I've learned since high school I've been doing that. So it's just kind of like I did that before I was even like really diving deep into YouTube. So that was the way it was for me. But like, you know, that's like most people are playing one thing at a time. And I think that's a good way to play games. Like, you know, again, we do this as a profession. It shouldn't be
that's
emulated.
what I used to do. Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Play one at a time. I mean, the only I wouldn't have bought Yakuza except for I was like, oh, I should talk about it on the show. Because I was like, oh, I'll get to it later when I have time. Because like I'm playing like 4 things right now, so
yeah, I've tried to get away from that because I feel like there are certain, especially with today's release cadence, perfectly said by Harley. We don't have time for you all. It's like I am one human. I review a shit ton of games, dude. Like, but I'm at the point like this February, I had to make business decisions. I was like, can I do impressions on Monster Hunter Wild? I'm like, maybe, but like, what? I'm gonna play the game for like 10 hours and then drop it because I'm gonna go play something else. Like that's stupid, you know. So, it's if we don't have time for it, we do it full time, then I don't know how your average consumer has time for all these games, and so that's the other thing this generation I think they got to figure out is like release schedules. Like I wonder if because they're all in this all or nothing state, like we've been working on this for 5 years, like they just pick their spot and like live there, and so many companies are like in that cycle where they're all just like going at each other at the same time that like you just have to make these choices of like one or the other when there used to be a time it's like why not both. Oh, this is going to be like a nice 10-hour, 15-hour adventure, and this one might be like 30. Cool. I'll get them both.
Yeah.
Bring back the 360, man. Bring it back.
Dude, perfect.
Well, don't bring back the hardware. Very faulty.
Yeah.
Bring back the 360 in 08.
That 360 vibe, man. Like that really stuck out to me too when I was playing like Resident Evil 4 remake, and I know Resident Evil 4 is not a 360 game, I get that. But like Resident Evil 4 remake and like Dead Space remake, I was like, damn, man, this is there's no fat on these things. These just feel great. They're brisk. And I want to replay them immediately the second I'm done with them. Whereas like even some of my favorite games from last generation, man, like I love Red Dead Redemption 2, but like every time I try to like replay that game, it's never with the intention of finishing it. It's usually with the intention of getting to the part where it's not snowing and then just wreaking havoc
around. Yeah,
because I'm just like, I'm not going to play through that 80 hours again. Like
sure,
that's insane. But yeah,
I like how you guys look back on that 360 generation, and I wonder if it's just because of an age thing, because I am older than you guys. How you guys look back at 360 is kind of how I look back on PS2, probably that generation, where I'm like, everything was fucking banging on PS2 right then.
I think,
but I don't know, because like I remember that 360 gen being like, yeah, it was all right. Maybe because like all my favorite Japanese studios were like doing dog shit at the time.
Sure.
Oh yeah, that probably
was a bad time to be a JRPG fan.
Yeah, they all just sucked.
Yeah.
No, as somebody who was never a JRPG guy, that was a golden age for me, man. Like it was well, because I think there was something, and I've talked about this before because I really feel strongly about it, where I just feel like that generation it's like, I don't know, it coincides with a lot of things back then too. It's like the exact evolution of the internet at that time. It was like the right amount of convenience. Like there's something balanced. Like you could get all the answers you wanted, right? You could go to your computer, but it wasn't like you go to your computer, Google anything, but it wasn't like following you. Like when you would leave the house and like harassing your pocket like the entire time. And then like with the 360, it was like you were getting really good releases at like a reasonable cadence. Games were expensive, but they weren't like, the budgets weren't crazy, and you got a lot of experimentation. You also had like the indie, the XBLA Xbox Live Arcade, like indie. You got like Limbo and Explosion Man and Super Meat Boy and all these like really interesting, just weird offshoot games that in previous generations would not have sold anything. Like you couldn't sell Limbo on PS2 on disc. I think that really felt like that's at the time. I just don't think it would have.
I think about games like Katamari Damacy and stuff like that being wildly successful on PS2. So, maybe.
No. Well, the 2D element of it, I think like 2D, people unfairly kind of like are really mean about 2D, and they still are. But yeah, there was something about, I mean, I loop PS2 and Xbox in as well, where that stretch of that 10-year period was like really good shit. And I think the 360 like combined a lot of that great game design with like a level of, experimentation and technological convenience where like, oh, you could have these like big multiplayer games and everybody showed up.
Yeah.
And it was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, man, someone in the early 2010s got.
It's just interesting how the way some genres got redefined over these last couple of decades. Like JRPGs used to be like, when you think of like a Chrono Trigger or whatever, it was like 20 hours long. Like, JRPGs used to be kind of short. Now they're known to be like the journey, like your metaphors are 100+ hours, for example. Persona 5 Royal, Final Fantasy, Rebirth, if you want to do everything like 100+ hours. Like these games are behemoths, but they used to not be that. And then RPGs, like during that 360 generation, used to be like, big was like Mass Effect 3, like 30 hours plus a multiplayer mode that you can sink time into to get like the perfect ending. Like that was big back then. And Bethesda, for example, like when they made Fallout 3, like that game's actually, it's a big game, don't get me wrong. But like compared to today's standards, like you could beat Fallout 3 and all of its side content in like 40 hours. This is not including DLC, by the way. But like,
sure,
that map, the way you just navigate it and hit the content, everything is more purposeful because it's dense and there's not tons of shit everywhere to like, the world isn't vast on the level that you see in like, hell, even a Fallout 4, where there's just kind of like throwaway stuff in between. And I feel like the limitations really again, it goes back to like what we were talking about with decisions. I feel like the limitations guided like more healthy decision making for the game. It's like, okay, well, we can only do like this map, like this big. Everything in here has to count versus like, well, we made it twice that size. And it's like, yeah, if you have like if you're playing Fallout, like a little plane crash here with some ghouls hanging out, like, okay, you just shoot some ghouls, loot a chest, fuck it, move on. Like we have room to do that now. And it's like, I don't know if that's good for the game at the end of the day, right?
Well, I think it's a mix. It's a mix of the limitations kind of guiding, like unintentionally, just like very good game design, but also just a matter of cost. Where like, I feel like back then you could make something and you could be like, do we put this in the game? And then they'd be like, it's not working, cut it. But now I feel like, bro, we spent $4 million on this. on this, how do we repurpose this? How do we Frankenstein this into something that works? Or like with God of War Ragnarok, it's like, listen, we spent all this money on this sequence where Atreus picks a bunch of fucking flowers. we know that this sucks, but this has got to be in there. Like I feel like pacing is completely screwed up by this in a lot of ways. In a lot of modern, even games that I'm not even talking about games that last like over 100 hours, but like there's games that are definitely big, like longer than they need to be. I feel more often than not that like games overstay their welcome, and I don't like feeling that, but I do.
Yeah. And I wonder if there's a little bit of like this generation. The best term is like people sitting on their hands and you kind of just need to give them stuff to do in a full-time capacity because the planning, like we keep seeing exposés of like the planning and the execution not panning out. It's like games might not be planned as well. So you have people who are just like, you're hired here. We're not going to have you just sit here all day. Why don't you go make a fucking flower patch that you could just dick around in for like 5 minutes or something like that. And that's your little corner of the game until we figure out whatever else you can do. Right. Like I do think there might be a degree of that in the industry of just people like sitting there like, I don't know what I'm doing today, but I work here. And, hey, Jim, can you give me a task today? He's like, oh, flowers. Go crazy, bro. We need flowers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that used to be not so expensive. Like you could have like have some guy go off and like, I made this crazy animation for this hijacking sequence, like, and I think it's pretty cool. And it's like, oh, cool, all right, yeah, we'll put that in. But now it's like, hey, I made this thing that sucks, and it's like, put that in, man. That was expensive. That was $40 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't afford to waste that time. And I don't know. This is like all like this is not based on anything like concrete or anything. I get the feeling that's
If you see a thing enough times, right? It's like, how can you not feel that way?
You can't tell me that QA people weren't like, picking flowers with this girl is boring as shit.
Right.
Like you can't tell me. Like I don't know a single person who played that game and was like, yeah, man, this is like the highlight.
Yeah, I usually I'm cool with moments like that, Chris, because it's like character development. But man, that was just a slog.
Yeah,
I remember thinking, I'm like, why is
this
still
a
going?
real thing?
Yeah. I played God of War Ragnarok.
No, I haven't played it yet.
Okay.
That's actually mad funny. I thought Chris made it up.
No, this is not an exaggeration. There's a scene in God of War Ragnarok where you spend like an extended sequence of time playing as a little boy picking flowers.
Oh, bro, that Greek fucking remaster trilogy, if that's true, that's just gonna wake people up. It's gonna be like snorting a fucking line of coke. They're gonna be like, holy shit, this guy was like screaming and killing everyone. That's what it was like.
Oh man, I see. I remember that in Days Gone too. Like there was a scene where like he was walking along the riverbed with his wife picking flowers. I'm like, shut up! I don't care about this.
If you do, you got to do it quick. Can't drag.
Yeah,
God of War dragged. I remember
it did, and I like that game. I think there's a lot to like about that game, but like, it's just modern. It's modern pacing. It's again, it sticks out so much when you play like a Dead Space remake or like
what bumped me away from that a little bit was seeing how like open world-ish it was. Like I wasn't a crazy big fan of that direction in 2018. I platinumed the game, and I thought there was even like holes in the combat that I hope they tightened up because of the Valkyrie fights. I thought some of them just were not good. But I still enjoyed it enough where I was like interested in the sequel. When I saw it was like big vistas and shit, I was like, I don't know, man. This doesn't. I don't like. I grew up on God of War where these games are like 10 hours tops, and you just fucking are like a steaming train just blowing through everything, and there's cool collectibles. And to go from that to like semi or potentially full open world with RPG elements, I'm like, yeah, that's like a little too much of everything in one. But I'm trying to keep it open mind because I had a friend who's telling me is like, you should put it on your list of things you play, and especially with like God of War kind of floating around again. I don't know when I'll get to it, especially if that remaster is true about like the OG God of War games coming back. I'll be all over that shit. But I still want to give it a shot at some point. But what I saw in the trailers and stuff wasn't convincing in like what I look for in God of War personally.
Yeah, I think the God of War you like, they kind of ran into the ground. Like there's so many fucking entries in that shit.
That's
so many.
The Ghost of Sparta. Yeah.
So I think it needed something different.
Sure.
But I totally get it. If it's like doesn't jive with you, I get it.
That Kratos jives with me more in a lot of ways than the original. It's, I guess, more so. I think what it is just the open world stuff. I think that that doesn't fit, and it seems like Ragnarok only gets more open. But I'll play and find out for myself eventually. But just while we're on the subject,
it's not completely open world. It's like zones.
Okay, I can get down with that. Yeah.
I'll try it out
full. I don't want to judge it too harshly from afar.
It's by no means a terrible game. Like I really like it.
Good in it.
Yeah,
but it's pretty in depth. And I heard the DLC is good. I haven't played it.
The rogue like one or whatever it was.
That was okay. That wasn't so bad.
All right, boys, it is time for Keep It Up. The exact opposite of sorted out stuff we are pleased with. Matty, let's start with you again.
I get the honor to go first again. This will be a quick one. I'm also a little prophetic this episode, Brad, right? Like you said, you're going to do a little future proofing.
Yes.
Sort it out. I'm doing a future proof and Keep It Up to Tony Hawk himself.
Oh, shit.
Seen a lot of those rumors swirling around. And look, man, passion does a lot of things, can get a lot done. And our man, Tony Hawk, despite everything with Vicarious Visions and everything with Activision and despite the first remaster selling, I think like I know millions of copies. I don't know the exact figure. I thought it was over 10 million, but I'm not sure. I haven't checked. But the fact that it's seemingly on the way back very soon. There was a sort of teaser for March 4th. Everyone thinking it's Tony Hawk 3 and 4, which was the next remaster everyone wanted. Like the ability to resurrect that. You know, we don't get these types of stories often. So just wanted to give a shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Hawk. Just for making this shit happen. And I'm in the mood for a skateboarding game, man. Like I played a lot of Skate growing up. I also played a ton of Tony Hawk. I actually never played the remaster. I bought it because it's right here next to me. So I'm gonna be firing that up soon.
Yeah, really good.
But yeah, like I'm ready for a little Tony Hawk. So I'm excited to dive in, and I'm just happy that this series is still relevant. Like it was such a cultural impact. Like it is a huge part of why skateboarding. Like I was a skater growing up. Like it's why it was so instantly relevant. The video games were just so everyone knew the Tony Hawk games. I was talking to Laylee because I was looking at like the cover art. Oh, where is it? Yeah, I was looking at Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3, right? And like I've never played this game before, by the way, but I remember in middle school, you know, I kind of dressed like Tony Hawk when I think about it, right? Like very preppy, average. I'd wear my helmet and stuff, elbow pads. If you did that, you'd be called a poser because you were like a bitch doing that. But it's like this is like the goated skateboarder himself doing it. And I just look at that cover, I'm like, Tony Hawk is like such a safety first guy and is like a legendary skateboarder, yet it was considered whack to skate and dress like him. I never understood that. So maybe some fellow skaters from the early 2000s.
Sure, I can enlighten you as a fellow skater. It's because he did vert, and everyone on vert did that because he would die real easily.
That's true.
That is fair. Street skating, no one did.
That's true.
Yeah, that's man. I wish I had skateboarded. I never did.
It was awesome.
I feel like no, I which is weird because I feel like I look like I did.
Yeah,
I've had people tell me like you look like you're.
You look like a creative character in like a Tony Hawk game right now. Honestly,
I've heard that a million times. Where like I had friends tell me like I remember telling them like, oh yeah, I never skated, and then I remember a friend of mine said that kind of betrays your character design. And that's
a plot hole.
that phrase has stuck with me for a long time. I was always just terrified. I always felt like I was gonna fall and like dislocate my brain somehow or like do some crazy shit.
I would never do like grinding because of that. That's why I like would wear a helmet when I was grinding. You know, because it was just like the idea of slipping and hitting my head just like scared me.
No, it's the right idea. Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You just get made fun of for it. So sometimes I would have to like cave to peer pressure, slip off the helmet, you know, just go out and just jeans and like a Volcom t-shirt and just hit some sick kick flips, right, Brad? You know, that was the way to do it.
Yeah. I like how you said Volcom. I've never heard anyone say that.
Wait, is that how it's is it Volcom?
Everyone says Volcom that I know, but Volcom is
I don't see
funny.
you in that word, so I don't know. Someone correct me if I'm wrong here.
But you would have got made fun of for that if you said Volcom. Like fucking Klingon or some shit.
That's like the Inglorious Bastards, the 3. Like
dead giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd wear that, and I'd wear. Oh God, I hate that I might be pronouncing it wrong because that was like my go-to.
No, it's okay. It's fun. How would you know? Like,
I would know because I skated. I thought it was Volcom. But I wore that. Billabong was another one.
Billabong, yeah.
Element, love the plain Element t-shirts. Those are really cool. Brad, what were you sporting? I'm trying to think what else there was. What other brands were there?
Hookups was one of my favorite.
I never heard that one.
Because they were like, they had anime stuff like in the 90s on their designs. Like they would just straight up rip off like Dragon Ball shit.
Oh,
like
cool.
Mega Man.
Oh, Spitfire was one. I loved Spitfire.
Spitfire, yeah. They did wheels, I remember, mostly. Birdhouse was a great one. Shorties was good. Volcom was kind of like more of like a surf kind of brand to me at the time. But like they had skateboarding stuff too. But I remember Volcom being more surfing. But I had Volcom stuff too. They were good.
I remember I got it for like Christmas one year. They had this wild looking like purple and green hoodie that you could like full zip. That was like a big fad. Like you could zip your hoodie all the way to the top. There was no purpose for it other than just a clown in school. But it was so awesome. I was so excited when I got it.
Yeah. Dark Star was cool. I liked them a lot.
Oh, I love Dark Star.
Yeah. There was
their boards were expensive, I remember. They were like a Premier or what were they? I don't remember.
They did
I was
trucks.
a blank deck guy.
They might have done decks later on. I'm not sure, but I remember they were like trucks. I think and wheels at a point.
Yeah,
but I don't know. They probably branched out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I used playing decks all the time growing up.
Yeah, sure.
You know, whatever gave you the most pop. That was
pop. Yeah, I remember.
That's what I was there for.
Pop. Yeah, that was a skate term. Yeah,
there you go, Brad. See, I was there, bro. I was there.
Yeah. I was in the heart of it. SoCal and like my age, dude. I was like in the prime of like skateboarding.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah, everyone skated.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, wait. So that was Matty's. Okay. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, my first inclination is keep it up. Nobody. If you think that you have to just keep it up, you're wrong. Yep. But I don't know. You know what? I'll do another prophetic. I'll try and will something. I'll try and will something positive into the world.
Okay.
Whereas, like, you know what? Keep it up. Keep it up, Halo Studios. Man, the MCC on Switch 2 at the Direct, that's crazy. Good job.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean that.
The Mario hat, too, they gave him. That was good shit.
I mean that unironically, by the way. Like, that would be, I really think that would be so amazing. And they would, I personally, like, me personally, I feel like they would be so stupid to miss out on the opportunity of a pop like that for, like, the legacy hits of your series. Like, I know that spells like kind of like pretty massive. That's a big deal for Xbox hardware, but like at this point, I feel like we know where this is going in some way. So like, my opinion is just like just rip the Band-Aid off, and there's no better time for that.
Out there, man. Just go out there and ruin some people's days. You know.
No, man. The way I see it is like go out with a bang, man. Like
don't beat around the bush at least.
Yeah, it's getting annoying.
Yeah,
it's getting annoying. Like the beating around the bush and just like make your hardware if you want, but like we know where things are going. So like put the MCC on Switch, man. Yeah. You are going to be raking in.
I'm so interested to see what sales figures are like for that, like on other consoles. You know?
Oh, it'd be so interesting. It would be. I feel like people are just going to buy that game just to own it because it's so weird. Like
that's what I want to do. I was just like, dude, that's just like that cover art is going to be stupid. Like, oh, you can see a little Nintendo Switch square with Halo on the front. I'm gonna be like, this is sickening. I'm so glad. I'm so glad I get to hold this thing. It's gonna be like a fucking artifact in like 40 years.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
All right, cool, good one. My keep it up is just for Capcom. Monster Hunter. Wow, it's coming out Friday.
Yeah,
good reviews so far.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. I will be there. Can't wait to hunt. It's been a while.
Same.
So good job, Capcom. You're doing well as always. Onimusha looks great. Very pleased with you, Capcom.
Oh yeah,
I cannot wait for that Onimusha game. That combat looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
The table kick is what got me. I was like, that's sick. I just played the original Onimusha for the first time, like in the last month.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed it.
So you can play 2 when it comes out?
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know much about Onimusha. I like completely missed out on that that series entirely. The PS2 was like a weird era for me. Like I didn't play the things that you would typically assume. Like it was all like Dragon Ball Z fighting games and like weird shit. I never played
Nickelodeon games.
One of the SpongeBob movie based games or like
Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah, Ed and Eddie fucking.
I have that game, dude. I have it.
Yeah. It's a fever dream looking at that game. It's really terrifying.
All right. This is from Unkempt Talk. Hello, gents. I'd like to issue a keep it up for Mr. Matty. I finally jumped into the Trails series, and so far I'm loving Trails in the Sky. First chapter. Feel free to take this opportunity to sell this series to the audience one more time. Keep up the good recommendations, Throat Coat King.
All right, there we go. Love a little throat coat. This is interesting. You're starting Trails in the Sky FC before the remake, which is no doubt coming sometime this year.
I'm just waiting for that.
Yeah, this is interesting. But Unkempt Talk, I appreciate the trust. Trails is, I think it's just a special franchise. It really all the points we were talking about earlier in the episode, right? Where we're like going through like what's going on with modern gaming and inconsistency and stuff. Like one of the main reasons I was able to attach myself to Trails is like I was just you get new releases every year. Like it's a book series, you know, you just get new chapters in that book, and not every single one's going to slap, but like their ratio is sick, bro. Like they got like 13, 14 games, and like, there's only 2 of them that I didn't really like much, you know? So I don't know. Like if I'm pitching someone on a series, I'm like 11 of these are really good, to fucking incredible, that you will feel like your time spent is well worth it in a day and age where people feel like their time's wasted. Like I think that's the only sales pitch you need. Like just keep an eye on Sky FC, but I think this will be a big moment for Falcom. Like I do think this game will be explosive. Yeah. This is their most popular game. I think it's going to put them on the map, and I think I won't say anything else. I just think there's a moment in this game that's going to live with people a lot, where they'll be like, "Oh, I got to see what happens next." And I'm really excited. Like I don't remember the last time like I've been excited on behalf of a team to just see like I don't think they even understand what the fuck's going to happen. Like I think Trails in the Sky FC could like push 1 million. Which is huge for them. The whole series combined has sold like over 7 million. So like, I think that Trails in the Sky FC can the remake can do some special things. But yeah, if you like storytelling, character growth, well thought out narratives for the most part, you know, you're gonna have a great time here. It's got best in class turn based combat. Every entry, like you don't even have that retro jank where you're like, oh, I'm playing Sky FC. You know, this combat doesn't feel that. It's like it feels good from game one. That's like one thing that everyone talks about Trails for its story, but its gameplay is like always really good. Always. The build crafting, the turn-based nature of it, everything about it, just really good. So
nice.
Give it a shot. I've sold this audience multiple times on it, so I expect to see you all at launch day for Sky FC remake.
Yeah, I'll be there. You sold me, Matty. Hopefully this will be. I'm hoping this will be the Yakuza 0 moment for that studio, where it just kind of explodes it, gets everyone in, like me, who's been waiting.
It's the only thing that I think this game has working against it is its story is very cozy. It's very by the second chapter, the next game, it's already serious, but like FC is like a little like
more lighthearted.
Go learn the world. Like yeah, it is like lighthearted. Like you're bracers, you're just doing missions and like you're not fighting God. But that's why a lot of people love FC. It's not this story about like, you know, taking down some divine being. You know, it can grow into that maybe, but it doesn't start there. And I think a lot of people do appreciate it for that. There is a real human feel to it, despite being this like eccentric JRPG series.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm excited to play it, man. Hopefully,
I'm excited to see your reaction. I'll be on that episode whenever you talk about it. You got it. Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah. Hopefully, when they show Switch 2, maybe it'll be there. Or
that's what I think. Know. Yeah, maybe they'll give it more than like a 5-second slot for the US audience.
They won't. Cool. They won't. They'll give it 5 seconds. That's what they do with Trails, man. Yeah. Poor Trails. All right, this is from Nicholas Carr. What's up, Summoner? My keep it up this week is for Falcom. Well, I'm not a Trails fan. Sorry, Matty. I have recently become a fan of Ys. The Oath and I don't know how you say that, Felgana remake was great. Yep. And the announcement of Memories of Celsetia. How do you say that? Celsetia?
Yeah.
Celseta remake is exciting. I hope we get a remake of Ys 1 and 2 and maybe even 5, which was never released in the US. So keep it up, Falcom, and keep it up, everyone at LSM. Damn, dude. Not a Trails fan there, Matty. Ouch.
That's okay.
You know what?
I've not played much Ys, so
okay.
You know, I can't comment on it really.
Yeah, I've only played some of 1, and I thought it was kind of boring. Ys 8, I think, is on Vita.
It's described as Japanese Indiana Jones. So,
oh wow, okay,
it's more of an action series. The latest entry, Nordiques, looks really good. I want to play that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, this is from Diddy's Dong Quest. Hey boyos, keep it up for apparently appropriately priced short games. I'm currently playing Dead Letters Department on PC, a horror type game. It's only 3-ish hours long and appropriately priced. Jesus Christ, at $15. It seems like the PC space is still the most experimental when it comes to dynamic game prices. Personally, I have no problem giving $15 to $20 for a 3-hour game. PC's definitely, it's the most experimental platform, period. Where all the games go. All the experimental games go first.
This is cool. Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. I hadn't heard of this.
Yeah, you can get games like that.
It just came out on the 30th of January.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Yeah, I've never heard of it. But I love shorter games that are cheaper price. Like Mouthwashing was cheaper and stuff like that. So I'm totally cool with that. Just different experiences. Yeah, man. Not everything needs to be $70, but not taking away for anything from that. But I love the variety.
Yeah.
All right, Matty.
Oh,
We're talking about this. Yumi talked about this on Duke a little bit.
Yeah.
You've played more. Final Fantasy X-2.
Yeah.
Now, I have a long-ass write in here, Matty. We'll talk about this first, or read this in first, because... Oh, shit. Did I not post their name? Sorry, whoever it was. You wrote a long thing, but I'll read your long-ass entry. Hey, Summoners. This one is from Matty. Last week on Defining Duke, Matty was curious about the development of Final Fantasy X-2 and hoped to give some context around it, as X-2's development is tied to an inflection point in Square Enix history. This was when Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of Final Fantasy, left the company, a change in leadership and upper management, and the merger that formed Square Enix. To put it bluntly, Sakaguchi as a creator finds sequels and remakes to be creatively bankrupt and prefers making games as if they're his final work in order to create complex or complete experiences. He had to leave Square not because of his movie Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within flopping, but mainly because Square's sales projections for the fiscal year were not met because Sony forced Square to delay Final Fantasy X to line up with the supposed remake or the release of the GameCube, which put Square in the red ink for the first time ever. This push, I'll just say that Final Fantasy movie did not do good for them. They lost a lot of money on that.
I never even heard of it, I'll be honest with you.
The Spirits Within? You've never heard of that?
No.
Holy moly. Dude, you should watch it one time. It sucks.
You should watch it. It sucks.
You should watch it. It sucks.
For like a historical perspective, you should see it, Matty.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen Advent Children. That was solid.
Advent Children's way better.
Okay.
Way
I'm
better.
very curious. You got my attention, Brad.
Way better.
You should watch it. It sucks is a great sales pitch.
It's just like, as an RPG fan and a Square Enix fan, Matty, you should watch it just to see what they're cooking at that time, what they were thinking.
Does it tie into any games, or is it like its own?
No, it's its own thing.
Oh, okay, cool. That'll be fun.
This pushed Square to make changes to upper management. The previous CEO, Hisashi Suzuki, who aligned with Sakaguchi's philosophy, was replaced by Yoichi Wada, who was more business-oriented, preferring cost-effective measures like sequels, remakes, relying on established IP and asset reuse. To be frank, Final Fantasy X-2 is a solid game, but the first game, Final Fantasy X, had a clear ending. X-2 was greenlit by Wada to maximize the resources spent on making Final Fantasy X and relying on established audiences. Wada's impact can be seen later in games like Final Fantasy VII spin-offs, Final Fantasy 13 sequels, and the FF7 remake trilogy. This is not to say there isn't good creative work in these games, but don't get it twisted. Most of these games don't really exist to fulfill a strong creative vision by the creators, but rather more as a business decision from the top. Since Sakaguchi left, there has been a distinct shift in Final Fantasy series. There was a clear evolution and consistency from Final Fantasy 1 to 9 in terms of game design, world maps, turn-based, ATB, etc., with the main difference in new stories. After Sakaguchi left, Final Fantasy shifted dramatically to the point that games post Final Fantasy 9 and 10 are so different, they sometimes different genres altogether. There is more to dive into, but I'm sure I'll spare you from making this write-in any longer. Have a Square Enix was ahead of the industry kind of day.
This is a great write-in. Thank you.
I think Sakaguchi was around during Final Fantasy XI's development, though, as well.
I thought 9 was his last game.
Like big involvement, but I wonder if he's still at the company.
Yeah, that's what I was under the impression. But yeah, I'll look into it some more, because obviously I'm going to make a retro revamp video on it. Yeah, I actually just finished this last night. It was good timing with like Summon Sign and everything. I was just I knew it was on the final chapter, and I was like, you know what? Like I did as many subquests as were available to me, and I finished it in about 25 hours. Like, it's a nice bite-sized JRPG. Honestly, walking away from it, like, it's flawed. Like, don't get me wrong. And as a fan of flawed Final Fantasy, like, look, I'm a 13 fan. It does find itself in that company where it's like, can I defend its plot? It's really tough, man. Like, there's some clear retcons in there, and some of the character adjustments make sense the more you look at them. Like, Yuna's complete overhaul makes sense. I think it's just the way she's written, like the way she speaks and stuff, just doesn't feel Yuna. But I wonder if part of that is the idea behind the game, is like she is trying to get as far away from who she once was during a very traumatic period of her life. But I'll be honest, like, despite Final Fantasy delivering a lot of really great stories, I'm not I really ended up not being there fully for the story. Like I just thought the gameplay was fun. Like and by the way, I played the OG 10-2 right here. This was a mistake because when I was playing the original 10, people were like, "Oh, you fucked up. You were supposed to play the original." I was like, "Okay, I'll play the original this time." Then I learned that the 10-2 remaster is like the final mix version for Kingdom Hearts fans out there, where it has the international content packed into it. So you get like these jobs and you get like creatures that you can recruit, which happen to be old party members from 10 outside of Waka. Waka's the only one who got left behind for some reason. But you can pull like Nuge into your party. You can have like Shigun in your party. Like it's fucking crazy. And I'm like, this game is just off the rails with all these different ideas. So I missed out on that a little bit. I want to go in and test that out at the very least before I deliver some thoughts on Retro Rebound. But, this kind of Charlie's Angels style Final Fantasy game there's a charm to it, man. Like, I said it on Defining Duke. I'll say it here. I was like, yeah, there is like a level of me of like, we got these serious brooding Final Fantasy games like 7, 8 is super edgy and emo. 9 is I think a little more uplifting for sure, but like that underpinning of like loneliness is still very much a key factor in that game. And by the end, it makes you feel strong emotions. 10, of course, is one of JRPG's saddest stories in a lot of ways. And so I like the idea of 10-2's like, hey, let's just go out and have some fun. And I do think there are good examples of asset reuse. Like we've talked about Trails. Like that's a good example to me. Like you're keeping that world consistent. You're always living in it. Final Fantasy sequels are like complex because 10-2 is an example of one that could have been done better in a lot of ways. Whereas like 13-2 is to me like the prime example of like, you can right all the wrongs. Like everyone had problems with 13. Even I who like 13, very linear and complex storytelling. At times it didn't need to be complex. And as Chris said earlier, the proper nouns everywhere, right? So you got a lot of that. Like 13-2 writes the record on so many things and makes like a really strong redemption of what was messy for a lot of people without sacrificing like fidelity and things that made that game really unique. Its paradigm system that made it unique. So I think the biggest problem I do have with 10-2 is just the retconning to justify its existence. But I kind of think that for an all like female led cast, like it's kind of like I imagine this gained a lot of new Final Fantasy fans. Like we as dudes, like we get all our cool Final Fantasy characters consistently, but it's been maybe since like 6 with Terra at this point that you get like a cool female lead. And so there's just awesome like poses and styles in this game that I feel like inspire like maybe a newer generation of Final Fantasy fans. Like there's this art on the disc here. I'll pull it out. That like I think it's just really cool. It's like the one of Yuna with the 2 guns,
Nomura
like
art right there.
Yeah, that's Nomura's specialty. Does Yuna scream gunslinger to me in the first game? No, but like if you're just kind of looking at it as like I'm here to have fun and mess around with these dress spheres, like for those who haven't played it, you can switch jobs on the go, and they have like these crazy animations for them. Like it's got style and it kind of in a lot of ways its structure reminds me of Final Fantasy 16. Like, I think this game has these, like, for example, Final Fantasy 16, its front-loaded kind of subquests are like, who really cares? At least, pardon me, in my opinion. By the end of 16, when you're doing those final side quests, you're like, this feels like main story shit.
Yeah.
10-2 is the same way. Like, when I was doing the subquests, I'm like, all right, I'll do these as like a quick game anyway. Like, why not? And by the end, in the final chapter, you realize these are all episodes that you're starting and completing by the end of the game. Like you'll finish the mission, you'll say like episode complete. I found that very interesting. I was like, oh, okay. And you realize that 10-2 kind of had to walk so other games can run. Like I love 13-2. And so for me, like you see a lot of 10-2 in that game. It was like the framework for that. I think it was also the framework for 12 in a lot of ways. And so I love 12. 12 is a top 5 Final Fantasy game for me. So I feel like this game was very necessary despite like the history here, which is very important, like the asset reuse and stuff. I'm like, I still think this game had a very strong purpose in making better Final Fantasy games and kind of like retooling while they tried new things out. And again, it led to 12, which I adore. I think 12 is excellent, particularly the Zodiac Age, I should specify. But I had a good time with it, man. Like just switching classes, like the combos you can do. Like I had Riku, who was like a thief, in the first game. Like now the idea is like you go with 3 party members and people are like, that sucks. But I'm like, what's cool is like every party member could be anything. So you had every party member in 10, I did like sitting into a certain role. And that worked. And especially because 10 will let you like swap party members whenever. But now with like the ATB gauges back and you're like flowing between like dress spheres and different move sets and like combos that you could do. Like I have Yuna use her trigger happy ability, load up the combo meter, and then time that out really well with like fireworks ability from Pain and do like 6,000 more damage than I would have before. Like that stuff feels good. And this game's full of it. So I was really impressed with the combat. I was like, this is just a fun game to play. Like there are times that the combat's so broken, I would just be mashing the X button and just going and attack. Like people will see in my footage or my video, like I just fucking hammer through enemies at a certain point. But like, this is a game that I see people getting really into in the new Game Plus runs because you just skip all the cutscenes because the story's really not that amazing anyway. And you just run through and just play this game, and just playing this game in general is fun. It's like just a good time. So yeah, like I had fun with it. Did not regret my time spent with it. Getting 100% in it though, ass. Sphere break, ass. Like there's there are bad parts about this game, no doubt about it. Like it's new mini games and stuff, not crazy about it. Music's not as good, writing's not as good. Like it's problematic, don't get me wrong, but I had fun with it. I'm glad I played it.
Yeah. So I looked up Sakaguchi here, some of his works, according to Wikipedia. So he was the director in the story for Final Fantasy 1 through 5. Okay. And after that, he was never the director again for Final Fantasy. He was always just like in a producer role, supervisor role. He did help write the story for a couple of them, like 6 and 9. But he did work on Final Fantasy 11 as a producer. And I think he was there up till, I think 10-2 is like the last Final Fantasy game he was on. He was executive producer on that. So he was there for a long time for a lot of that kind of stuff, that shift, I should say, in the culture there.
Yeah.
So.
And then he went on to make the actual Final Fantasy 13 in Lost Odyssey.
Yeah. That's right. So quite the career.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it overall, though, Matty. I like barely remember anything of it. I kind of remember like the true ending you get in it or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I liked it.
But yeah, I remember.
I didn't get the final scene. I got like the bonus scene, but I had to look up the actual like 100%. And I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the combat being fun. I don't remember dick about the story though anymore. But it's kind of cool revisiting some areas and stuff.
Yeah, the story is just about, you get to, like, the cool thing about the story is like you actually get to see the world react to what happened at the end of 10. Like 10 will just say like the crisis has been averted. Like you actually won, and you get to see the world like living in that. So like going to Xanarkand is like a tourist attraction now. And I think that's like intelligent reusage of assets, because it just flips the fiction on its head a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, like kind of like how we visit like war memorials and shit. It's like, yeah, there was a battle here, dude. Like, you know, it's not like this thing you gawk at, but because it feels like that's how a lot of people felt with 10. They're like, you know, how dare they disrespect Xanarkand like that? And I'm like, this is like a historical thing now for this world. And so
yeah, it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah. So it feels kind of real in that sense. And just seeing how the world is adjusted to that, and sort of the budding now, like the eternal calm is going to be disturbed. And the reason behind its disturbance, like, both makes sense and doesn't make sense. It's hard to get into without spoiling it. But again, they have to retcon some shit to make it work, which kind of ignores 10's plots. And I think that's the greatest sin it commits. I think if it didn't do that, I'd be a lot brighter on the games. I'd be like, wow, they didn't have to compromise anything. But it felt like, I mean, 10 was very conclusive. Like when 10 ended, you were like, yeah, this like beautiful story in a lot of ways. It didn't feel like there was a need for a sequel.
Right.
But they did one anyway. And I think it's fun for what it does, but yeah, its story is not what you're there for, really. In fact, I was reading that Lulu was supposed to be your third party member, which would have made sense, but they put Pain in because they thought Lulu's story would overshadow Yuna's. And I didn't really get that, you know, because like Riku is very much in the background. She's kind of just there, girl pal, helping you out. Pain, though, has like extreme story relevance. So if Lulu was not there to overshadow, Pain ends up being a big centerpiece anyway. So Lulu's off having a kid now.
Yeah.
It's just fucking crazy. I was like, damn. That's the other cool part, is just seeing how these characters have moved forward in this world. So I thought that was fun. That was nice.
Yeah. All right. The Rose Experience wrote in, first time write-in, Brad. For many, Final Fantasy X-2 represents the best turn-based combat system ever created. I tend to agree. Yet, I rarely see Final Fantasy lauded as a series for its execution in the space. As a series, Final Fantasy, nearly every entry is trying and almost always successfully executing something different. Even with a diverse game such as Lightning Returns, the combat system still shines through a pause regardless of your critiques of the game. I can go on and on highlighting the ins and outs of each, what they do well and what they're going for. But in short, why doesn't Final Fantasy get its rightful due from a gameplay standpoint? I think you're seeing it more nowadays. Like, I think the 7 trilogy, particularly the remake trilogy, people really like the combat in that game. Like, even people like Chris are enjoying it. Yeah. So it's doing something right. It's getting more well known for that. But I don't know, Matt. Do you think it doesn't get enough credit?
I think certain elements don't. Like, I don't think 12 gets enough credit, like, for its job system and how flexible that game is. And I mean, it admittedly is a game that kind of pigeonholes you a little bit. So you sort of like, I enjoyed that game a ton more on the second go around when I knew, you know, where everyone belongs and what are the, like, I went in the first one blind, and the second one I was like, let me look up like what are good builds, like what is the right way to play this game, basically. How do the experts play? And like, you just get an immense appreciation for it from like that point of view. So I don't think 12 gets enough credit. I don't think 13 gets nearly enough credit. I think the paradigm system is fucking awesome. Like, it's like a deck of cards that you're shifting based on your situation. And I just think there's I mean, the thing Final Fantasy can hang its cap on is there's literally no one like them in the combat sphere. And so it's always impressed me on that front. The ATB gauge is, I always use wait mode. Like, I always end up turning that on to at least buy myself some time when I'm surfing the menus.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but 10-2, like, it plays like an action game almost by how if you leave it on active mode, you're just surfing through menus and like quickly making moves. And the only reason I turned it off in this game was I was enjoying it more with the active mode on, but the problem I was having is the menu organization, like to find certain items and shit. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck like my mega potion is. Like, I'm getting hit because I can't find something. So that was a little annoying, but yeah, I think like there's a lot of Final Fantasy games that don't get their credit. 15 was the one I think deserved the most critiques though, and I'm a 15 defender. Final Fantasy 15 is like holding the circle button,
yeah,
button,
yeah,
and I think it looks great. I have a big soft spot for 15, but like that was the low point to me for Final Fantasy combat. I think 16 is all right. Combos that you can do are cool, but like I always say a combo system is only worth its weight in like what enemies make you engage with it, and like I didn't feel like 16 pulled that out of me at all. Like, I could just rinse and repeat combos and just get through perfectly fine. That's
the flaw with the game, is it's too easy.
Yeah, exactly. They were going for like
a flaw.
Accessibility at the same time as like a deep combo system, and
yeah,
I just don't think those two go well together. Frankly, like I get people like playing with combos. Like, I played Spider-Man 2 in 2004. I like doing stair step kicks and fucking hanging people from street lights. Like, that's fun. You know, but I just think that there is a level of, you know, you have to have the enemies force you to engage with those sort of systems more. And 16 was missing that. So it's a little up and down. Sorry, Chris. I had a feeling Chris would appreciate that.
No, yeah. I totally, you said stair step kicks, and it just like, it triggered like this very distinct memory of me laughing my ass off at seeing that on the screen. Because it's
my favorite move in that game.
It's such an unreasonably, like, it's so goofy looking.
It makes no sense either. Like, he's pushing you down, but you're stepping up on him. Like, it's crazy.
It's truly psychotic.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like Final Fantasy combat a lot. Like, I do think that,
yeah.
I think it gets its due, though. I think nowadays, especially, you know, we're seeing a lot of revisionist history on like 13. Like, all of a sudden, I'm seeing like
when much revisionist history on 13.
Yeah, when I saw, and it's the thing, bro. I don't want to see any of y'all in that game. Like, I don't. Like, I saw like the rumors of like, oh, they might be remaking or remastering, and everyone's like, yeah, let's go. It was good. I was like, shut up. I was like, you were not there. You did, like, there's no way you're gonna actually try to hype this up now when everyone thought this was like the fucking bane of the series' existence. I was like, it was always good. That's growing up, realizing that Final Fantasy 13 was always good.
That's funny. Dude, it's so funny. I thought Final Fantasy 13 was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. But I was a defender. I was like, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as people say it is. Then I replayed it a couple years ago, a lot of it, and I was like, ooh.
Maybe the original 13, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I was too nice on you, 13.
Yeah. Have you replayed 13 too?
No, I haven't. I thought 13.2 was much better.
So good. Yeah. I hope people know when I get carried away and play around, I'm talking about 13 too. 13 is like, I think, redeemable, but I can see why people don't like it. 13.2 is awesome. Lightning Returns I haven't played much of, so maybe I should shut my trap.
I remember liking Lightning Returns.
It has some
I remember
Majora's
having
Mask
fun.
mechanic that I remember like thinking
It
was really
does.
cool.
It does. It has like time thing. Yeah. Cool. It has like the dress sphere. It's pretty much back.
Yeah. I also love Lightning as a character, so there's that too. She's
Yep.
fucking awesome.
Yeah. Shout out Lightning. All right. Let's spare Chris so he doesn't want to kill himself. Chris.
I don't mind.
No, I'm just kidding. Let's talk a little bit about Kingdom Come. We did talk about it a little bit earlier, but you've been playing. You played a little bit of this as well. So let's hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, I think it's what I've interacted with, I think, is objectively of a high quality. I think what is there is like really, really impressive. It reminds me a lot of like it feels like an immersive sim in some ways, which I think is like really interesting. I love immersive sims. I think they're super interesting. It's like part of like that simulation of like the idea of like thinking of a solution to a problem in a video game, and you'd be like, oh, well, that definitely wouldn't work because they probably wouldn't have programmed that. And it works is like a really like I'm chasing that high all the time, basically. And I don't know if I've delved too deep into this game to really tell if that exists or not, but I can see like the breadcrumbs, you know, like it feels very purposeful. It feels very meticulous. It feels I know tedious, it has like kind of like a negative connotation, and it should, but I think it has its place. It's the way I feel about like Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's like that game gets away with a lot because I think everything that surrounds it is just so impressive and so high quality, where I'm like, if it took me as long to skin an animal in Red Dead Redemption, like if that animation length was in like a Far Cry game, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're not him. Or like digging through like a cabinet, and it's like it's real time. There's something about like that would piss me off in like 99% of games, but in Red Dead 2 it like grounds me in it, and I'm like into it. And that's kind of what's happening here, where like it's so committed to the authenticity and the in some ways the mundanity of that era and that time, that it just kind of sucks you in, and you believe it, and you care, and you feel very present, and the world reacts to you in a way that feels meaningful. It really feels like everything that you do, regardless of how minor, plays a role in how the map is going to react to you. Like when I realized that your charisma stat is impacted by by the way you dress and whether or not you bathe, I thought like this would piss me off in other video games for sure.
Yeah.
Like this would bother the hell out of me in something like a Fable. So I'm just like, come on, really? You're gonna lock me in? But here it feels earned because it is so high quality. It's really well animated. It's really well acted. I think the characters are great already from my limited experience with them. I think it's really funny. I don't know if it's so strange. I didn't expect as much of a sense of humor out of this game as what I'm getting, I guess. Like, 'cause there's some stuff in here that feels almost like it doesn't belong. Like I remember, and I'm not saying this from like I experienced this, but I saw it kind of. Somebody sent me a video on Twitter about it, where it's like this dude. It's like a skill check conversation, I guess, and he's like, "If you do that again, I'll knock you to Kingdom Come, Deliverance." What the heck is this? So stupid.
Yeah.
So it feels. I don't know. It's very appealing. It's very approachable. It's very likable. But I did have to put it down because I was like, this is definitely like
It's a commitment.
This is an all or nothing kind of game.
Yeah.
Like I can't juggle, especially with like another RPG. Like I can't.
Yeah, playing Avowed at the same time. Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, so I kind of put it down. I do intend to go back to it when I'm either done with Avowed or if I just feel like Avowed's run its course. Because I do feel like there's something pretty special in the sauce of this.
Yeah.
And that it has the balls to kind of the combat isn't satisfying in the beginning, like at all. It feels, in fact, it feels borderline ass. And the thought of that, improving real time throughout the story and throughout your interaction with it, I think it's alluring to me. I do know that this game is huge. And that is kind of a turnoff, because I do find like these games, like I get really deep into them, and then eventually I'm just like, I'm set. I think I'm good. And if I'm being real, I feel like this is another one of those, but I do at least want to like put myself into it for like a really, really long time and like see what these systems are and see how deep the interaction really does go and how crazy you can get with like stat allocation, like what affects what, and I'm into the story. Like I was genuinely like the main point of the biggest compliment that I can have for Kingdom Come Deliverance is that I thought the main combat sucked so hard and I still wanted to keep going. Like there's very few games like if Avowed had Kingdom Come Deliverance's like vanilla, like from the start combat, no chance I would be playing Avowed right now. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing in Avowed to really drag you forward, and there's no, it's not a similar thing. And I feel like the vibe is right. I feel like it's gorgeous. Yeah. It's like a really like the art design is really good. I think the art design is under appreciated, because I think it's like I feel like people look at realistic games and kind of assume that there's no art direction there, but it feels really picturesque. Like I've caught myself just kind of in fields and looking at a field, and I'm just like, this is gorgeous, man. Yeah. Like this is a good looking game. And so, yeah, I'm very into it. But I need to give myself the time and the space to play it. And I don't know if that's going to be immediately after Avowed. I don't know if it's like, I don't know, but it is one of those games that I feel like I will be compelled to play. But not at the moment. It's kind of like how Death Stranding was for a lot of people, where like I could tell that the second I sat down to play Death Stranding that like, ooh man, I loved it immediately. Like I loved it in the first like 10 minutes, which I was not expecting to do. I was expecting to clown on it. I got it because I was like, this looks pretentious and I can't wait to make fun of this. And then I ended up loving it. But even as I was sitting there loving it, I was like, dude, I could see a reality where like I played this even just like 2 weeks ago and didn't like it. Mm-hmm. Because it's all like headspace and what you're willing to open yourself up to, and there's something undoubtedly quality about Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I do want to see much more of it. Yeah. I would also like to figure out where the hell I get a horse.
You can steal one.
Yeah, I tried that. It didn't go so well.
You gotta find you gotta like register it as your horse at a shady guy. Chris, I'm like 36 hours in the game right now. It is a big commitment for sure. And it is like, there's no way I could play about it also at the same time. Like that's just impossible kind of thing. It's very good though. The story has continued to be good, which I'm surprised about for a long time. And it kind of opens up more than I expected in some ways and impressed me with some things. A lot of the systems are really fun later on. Like when you just kind of like, I feel like the game has a steep learning curve, but once you kind of acclimate yourself with everything, it's like, and you start understanding how things work, it's really fun. Like with Quest Chris, this guy's like, hey, give me my armor back. So I did a whole thing, got his armor back, gave him his armor back. He wore it. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I waited for him to go to sleep. I went in his room, shut the door. I choked him out. When there's people walking around, I stole all this shit, and now I'm wearing it, and it's mine now.
Just don't wear it around him or he'll catch you.
I'll kill him if he comes at me this time. But it's mine now, bitch. It's just like, I love that you can do funny stuff like that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing where it's just like, I love that interactability. Like I think that's the part of video games that I think was like, that really registered as magic to me. Like when I first played like games that were that reactive. Yeah. And something like, I mean, this is a different conversation entirely, but like when I played Boneworks for the first time, that VR game, I was like, this is...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's like, it's definitely like very, very, like from an art design perspective and like from like a lot of other perspectives, it's like very, very quaint and very, very like rudimentary, but like the interactive elements of that game, I was like, this is what I always wanted VR to be. Like if you can clean this up, like this is, I would be obsessed with this shit.
Let's see here. This is from Sween flossing with his own entire body.
That's
whenever Chris is on the show, he brings out the real.
It's a hellish existence.
Chris, I play The Sims sometimes. I order my Sims to take out the trash while my real life trash can is overflowing in the kitchen. Okay. Do you bathe your character in Kingdom Come Deliverance while your own body is filthy?
Do I prioritize my video game chores over my real life chores?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I'm like meticulous. Like, I don't know. Like I'm kind of like, I wouldn't say I'm like a germaphobe, but I've been hammered. It's been hammered into my brain to just like clean all the time. Or like if there's like a paper out of place, I'm just like, oh, that's gonna be a problem in like a day. Sure. And so like I'm really on top. I've never once neglected myself in that way. I've definitely like spent, entire nights irresponsibly awake till like 5 a.m. in the morning, and then I had to go to school in like an hour, but nothing like this.
Nothing like this, yeah. No. So I get these write-ins when you're on here, Chris, and I'm like, I just assume Chris knows what this is. This must be an inside joke from Snark Tank or some shit. I don't know.
It never is.
This is your fan base, dude.
Yeah.
You've done this to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain, but it's just like, because we incentivize confusing me. And I was a fool to not think about how that would evolve over time. I was like, oh man, that was potentially a mistake, but it's it's working. So
could be worse.
Could be worse. Yeah.
All right. This is from Brian Syret. Greetings, boys. Hope all is well. When the first Kingdom Come Deliverance came out, I spent a good 40 to 50 hours just being absolutely entranced by the world, story, characters. However, I never ended up completing the game because the rampant bugs on PS4 at the time became so overwhelmingly detrimental to the experience that I simply could not go on, and remains a game I want to return to and finish to this day. Chris, I know you had mentioned that you had gotten it on Steam, but opted to play it on PS5 instead. How is the performance on the console? I don't have a Pro, but would still like to give the game a go, but don't want to end up feeling as frustrated as I did the first time. Thanks for your time. I'll hang up and listen now.
Yeah. So a little bit of background on this. Like I got it on PC because immediately like I looked at it and I was like, oh, this seems like a PC game to me.
Yep.
But I primarily, like when I play PC, I'm either at my PC or on my Steam Deck streaming it from the PC. And I looked this up and it was like a problem that other people were having. I could not figure out how to, like when I would stream it to the Steam Deck, it just wouldn't register the Steam Deck buttons and controls. Like it just wouldn't do it. And so I was like just kind of stuck on the main menu, and I could move, like I could use the touchpad, like or like not the touchpad a little bit, and then I could use the touch screen to like select everything. But I'm like, I'm not gonna play Kingdom Come Deliverance like this. This is, and it's like 50% of the way I play at this point is on Steam Deck streaming it to it. So it's just like, especially just because, and I don't know if maybe you guys can relate to this. I definitely feel this deeply. Where like I do so much work at my computer that like I kind of never want to.
I totally
want to enjoy a game. Like I just kind of don't want to be hunched over this desk and at my workstation. There's like a psychological thing there where I just
I get it. Yeah.
So without that option where it's just like, oh, I have to be at my desk to play this. I can't stream it to the Steam Deck. I was like, you know what? I'll just get it on PS5 because I can still stream it to the Steam Deck and I can play it in the living room. And so that was the reason why I did it. But I will say from my perspective, I'm playing on the Pro. It's pretty good. Like I haven't noticed any problems. It runs pretty well. If it is 30, it's a damn good 30. Like I haven't noticed.
It's 60.
It feels fluid, and I don't notice anything kind of crazy. I was having an input lag problem, but I found out that was just my controller. So I have to bury a controller, I guess. I think it runs pretty well. I'm sure there's eagle-eyed people who are like particularly focused on like resolution that might notice some stuff, but like I'm just not that person really. Like I would play a game that looked like absolute dog water if it ran at 60 frames per second. Like I'm a performance guy over anything. And from what I can say is that the game looks gorgeous enough for me. And it runs really damn smooth on the PS5 Pro. I don't know about the base PS5. No idea. So I can't give you any like solid advice on that. But like, there's videos for sure. I'm sure Digital Foundry went over this.
Yeah,
I would look up their stuff.
they did. Yeah, check it out there. Okay, boys. Let's end the show with some questions from the audience. If you want to send in an entry to this show or any of our shows, we post threads on our Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. I post a thread every Saturday for this show, so keep an eye out there. Okay, this is from Child Aloy, another Chris favorite. Hello, Stephen Flower, Jeremy Spoken, and Elusive Joe. Can you guys do me a favor and use your Eldritch powers to conjure a remake of Dante's Inferno? It's just recently hit 15 years, and I think with your help, it could be revived. The game ruled. I knew it was a God of War clone, but it did a damn good job at it. Also, in one of the early cutscenes when Dante yells, Beatrice, it sounds like he's yelling, bitches! Any experience with this game? Got any other cult classics you'd like to see revival? Take care. I do have experience with this game. I played it when it came out. I remember it being okay.
I never played it.
Yeah, I remember really digging it, honestly. Like, I remember there was something about the aesthetic of that game, like that bone scythe looked dope. I think that it just Catholic imagery just looks dope. Like, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, it lends itself really well to like fiction, and like, I think it's why Castlevania is so damn cool. But like, I feel like it was definitely a God of War clone, but like it felt distinct to me. Like it was obvious that it was derivative, but like.
Yeah, I think even the two like light side, dark side thing probably helped a little bit.
Oh yeah, whenever you like weakened enemies, like you could like absolve them or damn them. And I remember thinking that's fucking cool. I remember that was such a small thing. I remember there were a lot of tits in that game.
Yeah,
a lot of nudity.
Well, was a big dick in that game.
God of War clone, truly.
Yeah,
God of War. Yeah, I would like to play that game. I haven't played that game in probably since like. Probably since it came out, really. So I don't know how it holds up. I don't remember much of it. Be an interesting thing to revisit. Yeah,
it's an interesting concept for a game. Totally.
Yeah, I could see myself enjoying it still. But I think I remember getting stuck on like a puzzle, and then kind of pretty late in. And I don't even think it was like. I think I looked it up, and it was just like, oh, it's I felt like an idiot, and then I just stopped playing.
The game insulted you personally. Well, hey, while we're on God of War clones, I'd bring back Castlevania Lords of Shadow. That was a cool one. I really enjoyed that.
Man, out of all the Castlevania games to bring back, you want to bring back Lords of Shadow?
I, in fairness, have not experienced much Castlevania, to be honest.
All right.
With you, Brad.
I mean, Lord Shadow 1's okay, I think. I think Lord Shadow's
I never played 2. I liked the first one.
Okay, 2 sucks.
I remember Colin reviewing that, actually.
2's
I was
bad.
Yeah, I was very disappointed when Colin reviewed it. It was like, this isn't good. I was like, no. I never bought it.
Yeah, it's not good.
What else? We got a lot here behind me.
Yeah, Maddie's looking.
Bring back Ultimate Alliance. That'd be cool.
Again.
Again.
I loved Ultimate Alliance.
Infinite Undiscovery.
Oh,
there's one.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
How about Condemned?
Condemned. I'm surprised hasn't come back. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot, man. There's a lot. Overlord. Yeah. There you go.
Overlord.
Overlord was fun.
Bring back Lord of the Rings Conquest.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I know a lot of people like those games. Yeah.
That game was a glitchy mess, but I could not stop playing that game.
I played that game online so much on 360 and PS3. I was addicted to that game.
Bring back Halo.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, it's already too late, dude.
I know. God.
Bring back Puppeteer. There you go.
That's a unique one. Resistance. Any PlayStation, any dormant PlayStation FPS series I will take. Bring back SOCOM. I know it's not first person, but
you want Mag back?
I'll take Mag. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not my favorite. I'll take it.
I'll take it. Sure.
Let's get it started. A
little Mag action. All right. Let's see here. This is from Grant. Hey, summoners, with Monster Hunter Wilds on the horizon, do you have any tips / advice for people getting into the series? I've played a bit of World and Rise, but never totally got sucked into them. But I'm curious about getting into Wilds at release. Thank you. Grant, so Monster Hunter kind of reminds me of PoE. Not to the same level, I would say. I would recommend doing a little bit of homework if you can. Playing Monster Hunter and using a weapon is kind of like learning a fighting game also, like learning a character. I would take the time to just learn a few basics and it'll make your experience much better. You'll have a better grasp of how things work. So I would recommend do that. I don't know what the onboarding is going to be like for this monster, and I have no idea. But in my opinion, they're usually not very good, the onboarding for these games. So I don't know how that's going to work. But I'd recommend just watching like a video of a weapon you want to use and just learn a couple basic things. It'll make it way more fun for you. Trust me. Because like even I've played a couple Monster Hunter games. I'll check out like a video every now and then. I'll learn something new. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think about it this way. And it makes it way more fun. So that would be my advice, I guess. But Matty, do you have any advice?
When it comes to Monster Hunter, I think now is a good time to get into it because they're taking it like I was for a video playing all of like the old Monster Hunter games and just feeling out like the evolution of the controls. And I haven't played Wilds, but it seems like they've kind of made it where it's easier to get into than ever before.
Yes.
So I wonder how OG Monster Hunter fans will feel because like we went from like drinking potions and flexing to like being able to move and heal. So I'm curious how people will take to kind of those sorts of evolutions that strip some of the difficulty away. I think it's been for the better. I think there's some parts of like old Monster Hunter that felt really janky. So my tip would be if you're going to get into it, you know, I think this is a good time. You know, like like I think they've kind of nailed the controls. Rise was my favorite in the terms of feel. The what was it? The wire bug, I think is what it was called.
Yeah.
I thought that felt awesome. You know, the
good,
combos and everything looked really good. It looks like they have the mounts back from Rise here in Wilds, which I think is really cool. So a lot of like if you've kind of dabbled with these, like I don't know if it'll pass World. That's the thing I'm curious about. I hold World in high regard. Like that is, I think, the perfect hybrid of like classic Monster Hunter, but then evolving things to pull people like me in. Because I started with Freedom Unite on PSP. That was my first one. But yeah, when it comes to like tips or advice, play with all the weapons. There will be something there for you. That would be my actual tip. You know, that is like, I think I ended up like, I love the switch axe. That's like my favorite. That or the gun lance. And just treat them like fighting game characters. Gene put it really well. They're like fighting game characters and they have combos and you kind of learn the rinse and repeat of that. And if you like loot grinds, you'll have a lot to do here. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good loot grind.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have any interest in Monster Hunter?
I do, but like it's every time I see it, I think it looks great. And it does fulfill. There's something about like hunting giant, like fighting giant things. You know, like I like that feel, and like even back to, I know they're very different games, but like Shadow of the Colossus, I love that feeling of even something like a lot smaller. Like I remember being really into like Lost Planet, like Lost Planet 2, but like I tried to get into World, and the onboarding was horrible, and
it's not good.
And I just like I'm very like I'm a very finicky person with that stuff, like. I need a game to feel great immediately because it's like it's really hard to get me in if it doesn't feel great immediately. Like it's very few things that can maybe supersede that. Like I get like KCD2 or like Red Dead where it's just like there's something else there. But I think I spent like an hour and a half and then I kept talking to this cat and the cat kept teaching me things and it was just like a lot of text and I'm like I really just want to fight monsters, man. And yeah, I don't know. I think maybe at some point I'll try because I do think there is something there that I would like at the end of all that weird stuff. But I'm just so impatient.
Yeah, it's a slow learning curve. I would say that game it dumps a lot of information on you, and it does it at not a great pace. I would say, but once you get over the hump, but the hump is very hard to get over. I would say.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's like a psychological thing too, where I'm like, I appreciate a challenge in a game of like oh you got to master something, but there is a point where it's like, I start to feel like after a certain amount of hours, I'm like I really should be mastering something like in the world, in like the real world. I feel like guilty if if it takes me too long to get good at something, then I'm like fuck, I'm really kind of I don't know. There's something there for me. I don't know if other people can relate, but
Yeah, totally. I get it. All right, this is from Daniel Pina. This one is for my boy Matty.
Hello.
Please just let him know that he absolutely must play Tribe 9, the latest game from Tokyo Games, the team behind Danganronpa. This is their best game since Danganronpa V3. Yes, even better than Master Detective Archives. It has action combat, exploration, of course, a cast of colorful characters. It even has various versions of debates, which are handled in the form of baseball games. Wait, of a baseball game? Whose playing field spans an entire city. Anime enough for you? Do not let the fact that this is a free-to-play game with gacha fool you. This is a complete video game. The best part it is on Steam and runs perfectly on the deck. All right, Matty. Gotcha.
Yeah, you got like me between a rock and a hard place here, Daniel. I remember when this trailer got shown off, I was hyped. I didn't know this was like a free-to-play Zenless Zone Zero type situation where it's like, cool action, but, it's free-to-play. It's got gotcha elements. I don't look at Kodaka for that sort of stuff, man, but I'll give it a try. I know 100 Heroes Academy, I think is what it's called. I have that pre-order that's coming out in April. That is the one I have my eyes firmly set on here. But since this just came out, it looks like on Steam here, like a week ago, and it's free to play, I will add it to my library right now. And I'll give it a try. We'll see what's going on here. I always play Kodaka's games, so
there you go.
I'm keen to see
Kodaka.
What's going on here. Also, the art style is very interesting. Very different. It's like pixel art, but also I don't know. It's just I'll check it out. I'll let you know what I think on Duke.
There's a hi-fi rush look to some of it.
Yeah,
from what I was seeing.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, final write in here from Kyle. Greetings, summoners. Matty, love to see you playing some classic FF games. When you go back to these games, do you use the feature like faster game speed or any of the other time savers? I've wanted to replay old FF games, but they're all pretty dang long. The speed ups do help, but there's a part of me that feels like I'm not properly enjoying the game when I use those. Do you use them on your playthrough? And if so, does it affect your experience at all? Cheers.
Yeah, for the old ones, for sure. Like, they're there for a reason. It's because the really old Final Fantasy games are like grindy, and this just gets rid of all of the bad parts of the game. Like, JRPGs were designed differently back then. So like the gil multiplier, the XP multiplier, like just play by your own rules, as in like, okay, you feel like you're cheapening yourself, like play normally. And then when the power spike that happens in every single Final Fantasy game where it's like, oh, this common enemy is a boss now. Okay, time to go grind. Now you turn on this multiplier for speed, XP, gil, the game fucked you, so you're going to fuck it in turn, basically. Like, and that's how I look at it. It's like, okay, this wasn't fair, so I'm going to be unfair to the game now. And that's how I played a lot of these OG ones. I'm planning to go back to like 4 next, I think.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. That's like one that I've been keeping my eye on for a while. And because I remember when I tested it when the classic collection came around, I was like, wow, this is like, this one,
great.
Like the story in the opening hour, I was like very interested in. I was like, oh, you're like playing as a Dark Knight? Okay. Like, see potential for a good redemption story here. So I was into what they were doing there early on. But yeah, like no doubt, I think it makes these games way better. With something like 10-2, you don't really need that. 10, I remember using the turbo mode for like, it's so funny. People give Final Fantasy 13 shit for its corridors. I think it's just the towns not being open and explorable was a problem, because like 10 is a lot of long hallways. And I would hit the turbo button and be like, all right, let's just get there a little quicker. There's nothing to take in here. Like when you're running through the Thunder Plains, for example, it's like there's no need for me to hit this at normal speed. So, or the Calm Lands as another one. So yeah, I think these quality of life enhancements are there for a reason. 12 is another one. I love KOTOR style combat because KOTOR is like 20 hours, 30 tops long. You don't really have to worry about that combat slogging too much, whereas like 12 is that, but it's like 100-hour game. And with like the time multiplier on, like you can turn that into like a 40-hour game because it just cuts all of the fat out of like some of its huge zones and whatnot. Like, it just lets you speed up and slow down when you need to. And I think that's really good about that game. So I think they're great. They're there for a reason. You should utilize them.
Yeah. Just use them if you want.
Yeah.
Like my thing is I always start with them off, but if I get to a part where I'm like, okay, this is feeling really slow, or I hit like a spot where I'm like, okay, I know I have to grind for a while, like Matt was saying.
Yeah.
Pick it on, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like don't let people shame you for playing the game how it's not how it's intended to be played, but I also don't think nowadays as game designers have evolved, they look back at those games and go like, yeah, this is how it should have been done. Like they know there was a better way to get your level up or create difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they justified the price tag, right? Like this was their version of bloat. Like the stories weren't bloated, but instead the actual like, oh, you're like level 50, you've been chugging along here. Well, this enemy's level 70. Go figure it out. Like go fight around for another 5 hours for us.
Right.
This just slashes that dramatically. Also helps with like getting moves for particular characters, like in Final Fantasy VI, like you can just like catch different creatures quickly. If I'm remembering that move set correctly, like those sorts of things can move a little bit quicker. So it lets you 100% them faster as well, which I think is really good.
Yeah, it's way more convenient. All right, boys, we're done. Another episode in the books. Thank you guys for joining me.
Of course.
We're going to say our goodbyes. Matty, thank you for joining me. Appreciate what you got going on for the rest of the day.
Rest of today is Retro Rebound recording, actually.
Ooh,
I'm fully warmed up from this. So I'm going to go on a walk after this. I've been sedentary for like 2 days straight. But I'm going to go get some blood flowing, then sit down and record a couple of videos. But otherwise, kind of my Mondays are always... They can be really fast or really slow. My Monday through Wednesday is usually pretty quick, though. It's Thursday and on that I usually get to coast a little bit more. But today, this Monday, not too bad. A little podcast into some recordings, and then I'm going to meal prep later today.
Oh, so, nice. Good idea.
Yeah. So that's my Monday sorted.
Nice. Chris, what about you, man?
Yeah, honestly, like not too just like Monday is my meal prep day. Like I'm going to be...
Wow, you want to be me, bro.
Yeah. Wow. Trying to one up them every time.
No, it is. I've gotten so into it because I feel like it almost feels like a metagame to me now, where I'm just like, how much
you're min-maxing your life, bro.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It's like there's like a weird addictive quality to it.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's a chill day. It's Monday. I'm not gonna do anything too crazy. I might do a little bit of just schedule. I'm trying to figure out like what next month looks like. I try to plan my months in advance.
Sure.
And
that's good. Yeah.
It's next month's busy, but
yeah,
I got to figure that out today so I don't have to push it off, but nothing crazy.
Shit.
Cool. All right, guys. We're out of here. Thank you, everybody.
What about you? What's your Monday?
Oh, me?
Like,
I'm going to eat. Then I'm going to put together punching up and all that stuff.
Nice.
Then play something. Kingdom Come. I've been wanting to play Lies of P, which is annoying because it's another game to add to the pile.
Yeah.
Or Yakuza. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That
Did
DLC.
You check out the new trailer for the Lies of P DLC? It just came out.
I saw the thing at State of Play, yeah.
No, there's like another new one.
No, I didn't see that then. Yeah. But what I saw looked awesome.
Oh, yeah. There's more for us to feast on, my friend.
All right. Yeah. So lots to choose from. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next episode. Take care and goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.